Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 244, Royval versus Taira, also known as UFC Vegas 98. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com. With me, as usual, is Keith Shillan, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, my man. How you doing?
I am doing just fine. If you're watching this right now and you've been waiting for it, you got up early on Monday morning, or by early, I mean like 1 a.m. on Monday morning when it usually drops, and you've been disappointed, the show is coming out a day late. That is on me, but I am going to firmly throw Southwest Airlines under the bus for that. You're used to having Shillan story time, Shillan sagas. You're going to have a little bit of Duffy's diary right now. I got out of town this past weekend, headed to San Diego to hang with my two brothers. The youngest of my three brothers is getting married in a couple weeks, so we just went and had a last bachelor weekend type thing. Nothing too wild. We're all pretty old. But yeah, middle brother lives in San Diego. We were watching and going to see if we could go see the first game of the NL Divisional Series, which was the Padres versus the Dodgers. The good news was that the Padres made the divisional series. The bad news was that game one was in LA, not San Diego. The good news is that we scored tickets anyway, drove up the coast, went to Dodger Stadium. It was a fantastic experience. Like Dodger Stadium, it's a historic stadium. It was pretty amazing.
The game is throwing shit on the field.
That was the second game. The first game the Dodgers won.
You didn't start it, did you?
I didn't start it. But
the truth is, Ben couldn't do the show because he was actually in jail.
I was spending the night in the in the stir in LA. No. Interesting thing about watching Major League Sports in a place like LA or New York, even as opposed to a town like mine, Houston, which is a huge city, is just the level of celebrities. Like in between innings or just in between batters, they just start panning around the stadium, and it's like, here's Rob Lowe. Here's Flea. Like it's just bananas.
Here's
it's like
Ben Duffy from the Shillan and Duffy show.
Here's Ben Duffy from the Shillan and Duffy show, way up in the upper deck. Like someone get him down, get him some field seats. No, but I was supposed to get in Sunday night. My flight was canceled, and then the rescheduled flight for Monday morning got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And I walked into my house about an hour and 5 minutes before we hit record. So it's going to be an interesting show. I'm exhausted, a little bit wired. I did tape study on the airplane. I paid $8 for the stupid airplane Wi-Fi, which was not good. So it's going to be,
which is $7 more than we get paid for doing this show.
Except when somebody wins a bunch of money on a bet and tips us on the recap. Well, what am I talking about? We don't get that money either. Anyway, that's it. Not much of a story, just blah. Air travel sometimes sucks, but it was great to hang with my brothers for a weekend. Anyway, UFC Vegas 98, 13 fights, headlined by perennial flyweight contender Brandon Royval and not even red hot prospect, red hot now contender, the undefeated Tatsuro Taira. I will jump out. We normally kind of take the temperature of these cards right off the top, and I'll usually ask you first, but I'll say that this feels to me like a sensational fight night main event. It's flyweights. We love the flyweights. Keith might love them even more than me. It's Royval, who on top of being, again, a perennial title contender / title challenger, is one of the more exciting guys in the most exciting division in the UFC, against Tatsuro Taira, who is really, really now taking that next step to the point where if the winner of this fight fights for a title around the end of the year or beginning of next year, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised or be complaining. But south of that main event, it's a pretty mixed bag, is what I'd say. I would say that this is an A+ main event atop about a C- card, and it averages out to maybe a C+. Tell me if you feel different.
Yeah, when you first were like, this is sensational, and then you said the main event, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, this dude's speaking from like air sickness going on or something. Yeah, the main event's awesome. I mean, it's that spectacular. I mean, flyweights headlining is always exciting to me. Two of the best flyweights obviously makes it even better. I give like a C minus. The rest of the card is a lot of just filler.
Yeah, there are enough fighters on this card with a history of poor decisions and kind of getting themselves in trouble or just silliness that I'm almost hoping that we just get some weird, crazy things happening. I mean, a card that has Chris Barnett and Niko Price and Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Dan Argueta, maybe the unluckiest guy in the bantamweight division right now. There's a high possibility that something weird is going to happen tonight.
Sure.
Saturday night, and I'm here for it if it does. South of that main event, which fight would you say you're most excited for on this one?
Oh man, I'm not too excited for it. I feel like if someone gave me free tickets to, are you familiar with Shabuzi? Do you know Shabuzi?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, how's the guy from Texas not know Shabuzi? It's like the sensational country song. It's called the Bar Song. And it's like the best song. So like someone give me tickets to that, I'd be like, oh, super excited when that song came on. I'd be like dancing and having a great time. Like that's the main event. And the rest of the time he's playing all those other songs. I'm like, yeah, I don't know that song. I don't know that song. That's how I kind of feel about this card. What other fight? Oh man, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna go all the way down to.
I think we're gonna have the same one.
Oh God, I don't know, dude.
I'll throw out mine if you want.
Yeah, you start, please.
To me, outside of the main event, if you gave me like the magical power to bubble wrap one of these fights and make sure it makes it to the cage, give me Jonathan Pearce versus Pat Sabatini.
Okay.
Like I think those guys are both actually really good fighters.
Yeah,
it's just it's a hard division to stand out, and it's one of the more evenly matched fights on the card. Like I want that one.
Yeah, I was looking at Vergara versus Temirov. Just because flyweights and they're fun. Both guys are really fun guys. So I'll go all flyweight. That's a flyweight fight, right? That's not 135, right?
Yeah, no. Okay. Unless Vergara, takes in a little too much delicious Tex-Mex living out there in San Antonio. Yeah, it should be taking place at 125 pounds. I
want to know why you didn't take your own boy, Alex Moreno.
We'll talk about him when we get to him. I am rocking the T-shirt tonight. I don't really like the Dodgers. I do really like Alex Moreno. So, try to keep it balanced. We do have 13 fights to talk about. So unless you have any other general thoughts about this one, we can dive right in.
Ben, I'll give you something. I like the Dodgers now because they're not my favorite team or anything like that. But Freddie Freeman. And
sure.
I played an 18-team dynasty baseball league. I have barely watched any baseball this year. I've made the championship 4 years in a row. I've won 3 straight championships in the 18. So
wow, that's
fuck
amazing.
You to the rest of the bums.
It was really, really cool to see Shohei Ohtani.
That must have been cool. That must have been cool. Yeah. It just shows you don't have to know anything about fantasy. Like I've barely watched baseball this year, and I just got a team. I got a squad. And Freddie Freeman's on my team. That's why I said I like the Dodgers.
Go Dodgers then, or at least go.
I root for the Red Sox, but they haven't given us anything to root for in a long time.
First fight out of the gate at UFC Vegas 98 is a men's flyweight matchup between Clayton Carpenter and the debuting Lucas Rocha. Carpenter, the 28-year-old MMA lab product, is 7-0 as a professional. He's 1-0 since joining the UFC out of season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. He made his UFC debut all the way back last February at UFC Fight Night Andrade versus Blanchfield, where he tapped out Juan Camilo Ronderos in the first round. He has been on the shelf ever since with a variety of injuries, and I think he had one opponent withdrawal as well. But at any rate, it's been over a year and a half. He finally steps back in, and he will be meeting Rocha. The 24-year-old Brazilian is 17-1 as a professional. As I mentioned, this will be his UFC debut. He won on the Contender Series last October, knocking out Duffy Bittencourt early in the second round. Odds on this one favor Carpenter. He is -190. Rocha out there around +160. Keith, I'll say that I was surprised not to be able to find any odds on whether Lucas Rocha will make weight or not. I mentioned during the intro that this card is loaded with people that seem to find a way to step in poop or just have questionable decisions, bad luck, whatever the case may be. There are multiple fighters on this card that have 2 no contests in the UFC. That's usually a sign of chaos, poor choices, bad luck, or all 3. Rocha is another one of them. He won on the Contender Series last October, but that fight got postponed because he blew weight so badly. It was supposed to be a flyweight fight. He blew weight by like 6 pounds. So they rebooked both of them for like 3 weeks later in a scheduled bantamweight contest. So they didn't even try to make flyweight again. He looked great knocking out Duffy Bittencourt, but again, he weighed in at like 134 pounds for that. And here he's back once again trying to make 125. I'm interested to see whether he's able to do it, because even back in Brazil on his way up, he was bouncing back and forth between 125 and 135. I didn't see any official weight misses, but he was fighting in small enough promotions that they may have taken a weight miss and just turned it into a bantamweight fight without even saying anything about it. And I would have no way of knowing. He doesn't look like a guy who should have trouble making 125. He's short and kind of stocky for a flyweight, but no more so than people like Josh Van. Like, he's built a little like Josh Van, and Van, never misses weight. He is an explosive little guy. He's got a ton of power, aggressive, very much from the mold of the kind of aggro Brazilian flyweight. I mean, half of the UFC flyweight top 10 right now is hyper aggressive Brazilians going all the way up to the champ. He very much fits that mold. It's great that he has that much experience. A lot of it was over really, really just outmatched competition that he could just kind of wade in on them, swing wildly, and get a knockout pretty early. I think that's going to end here against Clayton Carpenter. I don't know if Carpenter is a future champ or even a future contender in this division, but he's looked really good. He's big for the division in terms of just kind of having a longer frame, athletic, well-rounded, not perfect, still a work in progress, but I think he's more defensively sound than Rocha. And I think he's going to punish Rocha for doing the stuff that he does. I see him catching Rocha cleanly as Rocha comes in, just swinging wild on him. I think he has the ability to deny the takedown of Rocha once and on the ground, and I think he can probably take Rocha down if he wants to. So I do like Carpenter in this one. I'm going to say he wins a decision, but I think Rocha will be probably pretty beat up and pretty tired by the end, especially if he has a bad weight cut or blows weight. So a late TKO wouldn't shock me either. But as it stands, I like Carpenter by a pretty clear decision.
So when we were looking at fights, you said, which one you don't want to fall off. There's actually one I was looking at as another option. Just, two newer guys in the UFC that always excites you a little bit. Good records. Carpenter, I like a lot of what I've seen in this guy. High output striker, some tight, clean boxing. He's a slip and rip type striker. I love how he really springs into his shots. He showed he has some power. He cuts angles well. He's pretty technical. Like, he switches stances in mid combination. Good kicking game. Good fast high kick, good calf kicks. He has been rocked a little bit, which is a little concerning, before he got in the UFC. He's a good wrestler, as you mentioned, good top control. I like that he advances position on the ground. He has 3 subs already on his record. He has a slick knee bar submission, which, I don't think it'll work too well in the UFC, but still kind of cool to see that he has something like that in his back pocket. The one thing that really stands out to me about Rocha is he's only 24 years old. Like, I like that. He's got a lot of fights on his record already. He's a good athlete, good movement. He's good at sliding in and out of the pocket, landing big shots. He's got really good power. He's got 10 TKOs already. I mean, his last fight on the Contender Series, beautiful step in knee TKO, perfectly timed. I was going to mention that. Hard calf kicks. Not much of an offensive wrestler, and his defensive wrestling has kind of been inconsistent. He's got a good sprawl, but then he's also been taken down other times. Like, he He doesn't disengage in position that he should. Not bad at winning scrambles though. He's a pretty good like funk kind of grappler. If you take him down, he is hard to hold down. Concerning on the Contender Series is how much pressure he was getting early on, and he didn't like that. So, yeah, this is a tough one because I still think this is a big step up for Rocha, seeing how he responds to that. I am leaning to Carpenter also. I think he's more technical. I think he's the better wrestler. I think that he can land shots from the outside. When Rocha gets in distance, he can actually now Carpenter can look for takedowns. So just a better like cleaned up game already. Give me Carpenter by decision.
Next up on the UFC Fight Night 244 prelims is a men's bantamweight matchup between Dan Argueta and Cody Haddon. Argueta, the 31-year-old New Mexico native, is 9-2 with 2 no contests overall. He is 1-2 with 2 no contests since joining the UFC as the outgoing LFA bantamweight champ. He's coming in off of a loss. He fell victim to a second-round buzzer-beating guillotine choke from Gene Matsumoto at UFC Fight Night Allen versus Curtis 2 back in April. Prior to that, he had back-to-back no contests against Miles Johns and Ronnie Lawrence that we'll talk about probably in a little bit here. But he's looking for his first clean, uncontroversial win in almost 2 years, and he'll have to go against Haddon to get it. Haddon, 26-year-old Australian, is 7-1 overall. This will be his UFC debut. He won on the Contender Series back in August. If memory serves, he will be the first veteran of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series to actually fight in the UFC. He is on a 5-fight win streak overall since his lone career loss to Steve Erceg about 3 years ago, a loss which has aged well for him, to say the least. And that is probably reflected here in the odds, where he is a moderate favorite. Haddon is -180, Argueta +150, and I need to look at some props and see if there is a prop bet for a no contest, since that is literally 40% of Dan Argueta's UFC fights so far. Argueta, back-to-back no contests prior to the Matsumoto fight against Ronnie Lawrence, a absolute barn burner of a first round, ended in disappointment for everybody when Argueta wrapped up Lawrence in an anaconda choke. Keith Peterson mistook what Lawrence was doing for a tap, stopped the fight prematurely, went down as a no contest. And then last September, just in fact, almost exactly a year ago, he lost a unanimous decision to Miles Johns, which was overturned when Johns tested positive for turinabol. Keith, is Dan Argueta a good fighter who has some bad luck, or is he a mediocre fighter who has some bad luck? And who gets it done here on Saturday?
Well, he definitely has bad luck, so I like how you phrased that. I think he's a pretty good fighter. Like he's definitely exciting, or like I like high paced guys, and that's such a big part of Argueta's game is fighting at high pace. He's a southpaw. He's a good athlete. He moves well, just keeps moving and working. Fights with nonstop pressure. He's got good volume. Likes to slide into the pocket, unload big shots. The problem is, like I see, he's exciting. A lot of times when someone's exciting, that means that defense sucks. So he drops his hands. He lacks head movement. He's a solid wrestler, and he doesn't stop wrestling. Like he's gonna, and I'm one of the people who enjoy that. He's fast entries, good at winning scrambles, got some good back takes. He can be sloppy in loose positions, part of that like new funk style. He loves head
Mexican
attacks.
Marab?
Huh?
Mexican Marab?
Oh, there you go. Locks in some like anaconda chokes and Darce chokes. He needs to improve his defensive wrestling. He struggles to stop takedowns from Damian Jackson. Struggles to get off his back to get back to his feet. He showed good submission defense against Damian Jackson, being on his back for long periods of time and couldn't, but Jackson couldn't submit him. And he's good cardio. He's going to go hard all 15 minutes. Haddon's a really well-rounded fighter. I mean, they talked about his story on the Contender Series, like pretty much grew up fighting everything. Taekwondo background, has competed in Muay Thai, has competed in boxing. He's a good striker too. I mean, you see with that experience, very aggressive, marches down his foe, good hand speed, nice snap on his shots, attacks with combinations. Does well to strike while sliding his head off the center line, which I really like. He also sets up shots really well with feints, but more up and down feints, which I really like. I love his body work. He goes there a lot. Good power. He's got 5 TKOs. Good kicking game. Hard kicks to the body. Good calf kicks. As far as his ground game, he's not bad there. Good entries. A BJJ black belt. He's competed in some high level BJJ competitions. He's got 2 quick subs in his last 2 fights. Solid takedown defense, and even when he's been taken down, really good at getting back up. I like this fight a lot. This is so again, like when we talked earlier on the card, like I was saying C-, yeah, because it has nothing to do. There's not guys high in the rank and stuff, but as far as action, there's some good action fights, and this is one of them. Argueta has a grueling, relentless style, but Haddon is so well-rounded. He's a really solid striker. I love his body work. I think he's going to stuff some takedowns. I say they're going to have to exchange on the feet. I think Hayden's going to do the work there. I say he finishes Argueta with a body shot. Give me Hayden by second round TKO.
Yeah, I like the breakdown there. I threw out the slightly loaded / leading question about Argueta. I enjoy watching Argueta for all the reasons you mentioned. He's an aggressive guy, a high-paced guy. He's a guy that he's one of the ones that has been training with Cub Swanson out at UFC Gym Costa Mesa, and Cub Swanson, more than most other fighters turned coach, really seems to impart his approach to the people that he coaches. And I think that shows in Argueta, where if you gave the short scouting report on Swanson, it would be aggressive, high pace, athletic, offensively minded, and has some serious defensive lapses sometimes. That a lot of that would apply to Argueta. Having said that, bad luck aside, I think at best Argueta settles in the UFC as the perfect kind of veteran to test the Cody Haddons of the world. So I love this matchup, but I do think it's one that favors Haddon. If he is as described, and again, as you mentioned, he's coming in off of a couple of nice, nifty, quick strike submissions, and before that, he was knocking people out. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Argueta here as well. I'm not going to call a guy with fewer than 10 fights a surefire future contender, but Haddon sure looks like the truth to me, and I think we're going to see that on Saturday against Argueta as well. You called for a second round TKO. I see no reason to call a different round just to be different, because that's what I'm kind of feeling as well. So give me Haddon to get a second round finish with strikes, but I think the fight will be a whole lot of fun for as long as it goes. Heavyweights take the cage next, or maybe super heavyweights. We'll see, as Chris Barnett faces off against Junior Tafa. Barnett, the 38-year-old American, is 23-8 overall. He's 2-2 in the UFC. He has not fought for a little over 2 years, a combination of some personal struggles, some injury issues, but has not fought since September of 2022 when he knocked out Jake Collier in the second round. He's coming back, looking to get back in the win column, or stay in the win column, get over 500 in the UFC. He had been scheduled to face Waldo Cortez Acosta. That would have been a whole lot of fun to watch at the ceremonial weigh-ins, but Cortez Acosta was forced to withdraw with an injury. In steps Junior Tafa, which at least it's Junior Tafa, not Justin Tafa, because we'll still get the almost a full foot of height difference between them. Tafa, the younger Tafa brother, 28-year-old New Zealander, 5-3 overall, 1-3 since joining the UFC after a lengthy kickboxing career and a short MMA run in Ryzen Fighting Federation. Tafa is on a 2-fight losing streak, comprising all of his appearances so far this year. He fought Marcos Pezao de Lima in February at UFC 298 and got leg kicked to death in the second round. Then came back at UFC 305 in August against Walter Walker and got heel hooked. Curse him forever for bringing heavyweight heel hooks back to the UFC, but he's here trying to snap the 2-fight losing streak. He picked the right time to come back, apparently, because he is minus 400, and I will just go go ahead and let Keith say his own line this time. Barnett plus 300 on the comeback.
Man.
Keith, I'll call this one first, but go ahead and say it so I don't steal your line.
I'm assuming you're saying that Tafa shouldn't be favored that high over anybody.
Junior Tafa, who is 1-3 in the UFC and just got heel hooked by Walter Walker, is minus 400 against Chris Barnett.
The disrespect of Huggy Bear.
The disrespect of Huggy Bear. Having said that, I do understand why he's favored, even if I think minus 400 is kind of ridiculous. Barnett hasn't fought in 2 years. He is 38 years old. He's had personal tragedy.
He's 38 inches tall.
He's one of the very, very few fighters in the last 20 years to blow weight at heavyweight. Here's the thing. In 2021, when Barnett showed up in the UFC, for one, I scoffed because I've seen this guy fight in the regionals, and he's listed at 5'9", and I'm just going to say that I am 5'9", and I think they're being generous to him.
I seen this guy fight at the family reunions. Like, come on,
yes,
like, dude, bars. Or,
yeah,
everyone's seen a guy just like him.
Yeah, like I made fun of Eileen Perez because I saw her fight on rubber preschool gym mats. Chris Barnett has fought on surfaces of like short carpet and popcorn because it was in a movie theater lobby. He's fought everywhere. He's fought for a long time. His very first career fight was against Jonathan Ivey. That has to have been the shortest heavyweight fight in MMA history, not in terms of time, but in terms of how tall the fighters are, because Jonathan Ivey's like 5'6". Barnett, in spite of being 5'8" or so and right at 266 pounds, is a wild man. He throws spinning stuff. He throws axe kicks. He throws capoeira style wheel kicks and hits people with them. And the UFC clearly wants his all of his comedy potential because they keep matching him against the biggest dudes they can possibly find. His losses in the UFC are to Ben Rothwell and Martin Budai, two guys who are 6'5" or taller and cut weight to make the heavyweight limit. They were trying to get him to fight Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is 6'5" and cuts weight to make the heavyweight limit.
I love it.
I love it too.
That's some Joe Silva type shit.
It is some Joe Silva type shit.
Ben Rothwell's nickname is Big.
That's like it.
His nickname.
Yep, Big Ben Rothwell. That's it. Of course, Cortez Acosta fell out. Tafa's the biggest dude they could find on short notice, I guess. Stefan Struve, like, just wasn't answering his phone that week.
Where's
the thing
at?
Oh man, Gan McGee.
They couldn't find the freaking bridge that Wes Sims living under.
Oh my goodness. Barnett, despite surprising athleticism and power, he's never going to catch anyone in the UFC with that stuff ever again. Like, once the surprise wears off, it's just not going to work anymore. And what you're left with is a guy that comes out like a maniac and gasses out fast, even for a heavyweight.
It shouldn't have worked to begin with.
It should never have worked to begin with, but it's heavyweight.
Oh, and can I change my answer? When you said which fight I not want to have drop, this is the one fight. I want to see this fight so bad now.
So if Junior Tafa slips on some pipes on Saturday, we're calling Dan Ige and saying, Dan, how much do you weigh right now?
Save us. Call up Tank Abbott. Or Tank will take the fight.
Have you seen Tank Abbott recently? Like, after he had like his liver transplant? He's unrecognizable. Yeah. He looks like he's lost literally 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Which that's good.
He lost Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah, he lost to Demetrius Johnson. He at least lost to Corey McKenna, who fights like further up the card.
There you go.
Tafa is limited. It's weird. He's a 28-year-old heavyweight with kickboxing experience and crushing power. I should be super high on him because he has literally another 10 years to keep developing and probably another 15 to keep fighting if he stays at heavyweight. But something in me, and come get me If Junior Tafa is come get me if Junior Tafa is hitting him in RE rolls on people 2 years from now. But even though he just barely turned 28, he just strikes me the kind of guy that's never gonna get better at the ground game.
Ben, you go to a jiu-jitsu gym. You could take him. You could take him to a jiu-jitsu match.
I'll say this: I'm comfortable that I could take Junior Tafa down.
All right. Yeah, I've been on you, man.
Like if it's wrestling, not MMA, if he can't just knee me in the head and literally kill me and end my life, I could take Junior Tafa.
Yeah, I'm confident, my boy.
Again, get me later if that turns out to be wrong. I would love to be wrong. MMA is a more fun place when there are more skilled heavyweights, but Junior Tafa may top out as taller Justin Tafa, where he's going to be consistently fun. He's going to land some crazy knockouts. He's going to suffer some crazy knockouts, and anybody who takes him down is just going to completely steamroll him. Thing is, Chris Barnett's not going to take him down. Also, Chris Barnett's not going to check leg kicks. There's two ways this fight probably plays out, and both of them have Barnett losing. If Barnett comes out and just tries his wild man stuff and tries to wheel kick 6'4" Junior Tafa like he did to John Vellante, and then have another just crazy moment on the mic, Tafa's not going to fall for that. Tafa's going to kick his legs, hit his body, just sap his already terrible gas tank, and probably knock him out in the second round. If Barnett tries to fight conservatively and just get inside on Tafa, run him to the cage, kind of just make him wear his hydrated 280 pounds of weight, I think Tafa probably still wins that, because I don't think Barnett has the gas to do that for 2 rounds out of 3, or to do it for 2 rounds and have enough left in the third not to get chopped up. So unless Tafa just looks terrible stepping up on short notice, I don't like him minus 400 much, but I like him to make pretty quick work of Chris Barnett. Give me Tafa by a second round TKO that probably ends with punches, but starts with 10 or 15 leg kicks that just the fight's over once he starts throwing them.
Dude, how can you not like a short fat guy? Like
I see a short fat guy in the mirror every day.
Yeah. I'm come on. Come on, my man. Come on, Huggy Bear. I'll say this. I mean, the guy's short. He's fat. He doesn't make weight. Yeah, he might weigh 300 pounds for this fight, but he is surprisingly athletic, and he's got tons of heart. I'll give him that. He's got this traditional Taekwondo style. He's a southpaw. He'll throw also, like you said, spinning attacks and stuff. But he also will get in the pocket and just throw looping haymakers and invite a brawl. He does a Superman punch a lot, which does work well for shorter guys to close the distance, because there's no really other way to get inside. He doesn't have that bob and weave, Mike Tyson close the distance style.
No, he throws a Superman punch and hits the other guy in the chest. That's how short he is.
Who's taller, him or Eileen Perez?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd have to see them both twerking.
That might happen if he wins.
We might get it.
Well, I mean, he will have to probably finish his shift at the strip club. So,
please tell me he's a bouncer, not a dancer.
Yeah. Ask her. Oh God, what's her name? You can't think.
Vanessa Demopoulos.
Vanessa Demopoulos. That's her dad. What a fucking loser. So he threw a lot of spinning attacks at John Vellante, and who else did he fight? No, it wasn't John.
It was John Vellante.
Yeah, John Vellante and Jake Collier. I was thinking, I said Vellante, but I meant Collier. But still, yeah. He throws a lot of kicks, which works surprisingly well for him against orthodox fighters. But he uses a lot of movement, but some of his movement is just straight back. I mean, Ben Rothwell made him pay with just uppercuts when Barnett was ducking his head. He's an underrated wrestler, but has bad takedown defense. Struggled to get off the cage against Martin Madai, just gets held up there and beat up there. Struggled to get back to his feet against Ben Rothwell. If he's on top, he has decent ground and pound, but no submission game at all. Junior Tafa, you mentioned he's a one-dimensional fighter. He's a striker. Short, tight shots, not many tells, pretty accurate. He wraps his right hand around his opponent's defense. He can be dragged into the brawl, and against someone like Barnett, he shouldn't do that. He should just stick from the outside and just beat him with speed and accuracy and length. He will slip and rip. He's got serious power. He throws some good kicks, but he's also open to calf kicks himself. I mean, he didn't check any leg kicks against Marcos Hajira de Lima, who absolutely brutalized his legs. He's a god-awful grappler. His takedown defense is bad. He's got no get-up game at all. This is like if you were giving betting line and prop bets, the thing that is most likely to happen is Tafa knockout first round. He's too big, too fast, too strong, too good of an athlete. But fuck it, dude. I'm going with Huggy Bear. I say he gets inside. My boy Ben says he can take down Tafa. Then I think my man Huggy Bear can take him down. I say Huggy Bear gets some takedowns. I say he wears Tafa down. I say he gets a third round TKO. Give me the Huggy Bear by third round ground and pound victory.
There you have it. Keith, going out for the plus 300 underdog, Chris Barnett. I'd have to look, but it's certainly among the top 5 underdog picks either of us has made this calendar year. And while I picked
bigger ones than that, we've done bigger ones than that, much bigger.
We've done bigger ones than that, but it's in the top 5. And while I did pick Tafa in this one, would not break my heart to be wrong.
Much more fun to talk about in the recap show.
Yeah. Well, I said during my preview that MMA is a more fun place with more skilled heavyweights, but it's also more fun place with more unskilled heavyweights sometimes. It's a win-win.
There you go.
Next up on the UFC Vegas 98 undercard, anytime Niko Price is on a UFC card, I assume that the promotion and the venue have to pay additional accident insurance. I am certain they have to pay more child support, and it is Gorimbo versus Price.
Family
Gorimbo. Gorimbo, the 33-year-old from Zimbabwe, is 13-4 overall. He's 3-1 in the UFC. He dropped his UFC debut last February, getting guillotined by AJ Fletcher. Since then, he has rattled off 3 straight wins over Takashi Sato, Pete Rodriguez, and Ramiz Brahimaj. The most recent of those, the Brahimaj fight, was back in May at UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy, where he took a unanimous decision. Gorimbo will look to make it 4 straight in the welterweight division here against Price. 35-year-old Floridian, 16-7 with 2 no contests overall, 8-7 with 2 no contests in the UFC. He's coming in off of a win. He fought most recently at UFC 302 back in June, where he took a pretty one-sided unanimous decision over Alex Morono, who appears further on up the card tonight. Prior to that, he had dropped back-to-back fights via knockout to Phil Rowe and Robbie Lawler, giving Lawler the hero's send-off that we all kind of secretly hoped he would get. So Niko Price, as much as I make fun, always a good guy in my book for that. Odds here favor Gorimbo pretty heavily. He is minus 300, Price plus 250 coming back. Niko Price is a strange, weird dude, a whole lot of fun. And of the whole generation of crazy action fighter welterweights that were floating around the UFC, say in 2017, 2018, him, Vicente Luque, Santiago Ponzinibbio, there were more and more of them. He's the one that hasn't changed at all. All the rest of them have either aged and worn down and are on their way out. People like Ponzinibbio appears to be. They've sort of gotten more serious or more conservative and actually strung together some wins. He's the guy that he's still in the UFC. He's still going to win one, lose one, win one, lose one until all the wheels fall off. And really nothing has changed about him. He might be the most unorthodox fighter in the whole UFC. Or, you know what? He's a welterweight version of Ovince St. Preux. where he has some things that he does very well, but none of them seem to go together. It's just like you threw the names of 50 MMA techniques into a hat, drew out 6 of them and said, all right, that's you. Those are the things you do, and you're bad at most of the other things. I love it. He is a big athletic guy. Even at 35, having just turned 35 a couple weeks ago, even at 35, he's still a plus athlete for the division. That has not abandoned him. What's abandoned him at 35 and after the wars he's been in and the knockouts he's taken is he was never the most durable guy, and now he's even less durable. He's still capable of pushing a pace. I mean, in fact, the reason he beat Morono so convincingly in June is that Morono got tired first, which we'll talk about it when his fight comes up, but that's not normally the case. Niko can do his crazy thing for 15 minutes, no question, if it comes to it. Yeah, he's a medium tall welterweight, but he has long arms and legs. It's like he's a 6 foot tall guy with the arms and legs of like a 6'3" guy. And he uses it well. He throws long kicks out there. He throws hard kicks, is willing to throw them to all levels. Got good power in his hands, in both hands. He doesn't tend to initiate the ground game. That's not what he wants. But if it goes there, he's also like he's the same on the ground as he is on the feet. Unorthodox, offensively minded, can do some breathtaking stuff offensively, but is also susceptible to people taking advantage of him there. His knockout of Randy Brown back in 2018 is still one of the weirdest finishes in UFC history. And any fight of his that goes to the ground has at least one situation like that comes up. That's it. He's pure chaos in the cage. It's a blast. I'm here for it for as long as he's going to be here, but Gorimbo's not the guy to do it against. Gorimbo is a big, strong welterweight. He is very smooth and athletic, but I don't know that he's going to be blindingly faster than Price. But I think in clinch situations, wrestling and grappling, I think he's going to be physically stronger there. And because he's a little more conservative and fundamentally sound, I think the ground's going to be a bad place for Price against him. Price certainly has a chance to win this, just catching Gorimbo with like a crazy head kick or crazy body kick or hell, an up kick like he knocked out, what's his name with? James Vick. But there's always the outside chance of that. But I think the likelihood is we'll get some fun exchanges on the feet where both guys probably have their moments, but this thing's going to go to the ground eventually. Gorimbo's going to get some just crazy judo throw on Price, or they're just going to end up in a scramble or collision where Price thinks it's to his advantage to, like grab a front headlock or something. It's not going to work out for him. Gorimbo will settle in top position. And from there, I think Price is going to be in trouble. Gorimbo, it can be heavy on top, throws hard strikes from there, advances position, and is always on the lookout for the submission. I think that's what happens. Give me Gorimbo by second round submission. Probably something that starts from top side, like he just is pounding on Price, moves to mount, peels off for an armbar, something like that.
You ever get those questions where people ask, like, yeah, how many kindergartners do you think you could take before they overpower you? Like, how many of Gorimbo's kids, how many of Price's kids could Gorimbo take before they overpower him? You're on mute. Yeah.
I don't think all, because Price has, I think, 8 kids.
Yeah.
But they're not all kindergartners. I think one of his kids, I think at least one of his kids is probably older than Corey McKenna. So yeah.
I did see one of these ones, like, if you had a full size grizzly bear, how many kindergartners would it take before that grizzly bear gets taken out?
I think it would be, how many would it take before the bear gets full?
Yeah. It just stops. Like,
yeah.
ate too much and just falls over.
Yeah, it hibernates and
yeah. Who could eat more kindergartners? The grizzly bear or the huggy bear? Niko, keep your kids away from the Huggy Bear.
Yeah.
In case you don't
I need to put in the gif of like Danny going, "That's fucking illegal."
This fight, Niko Price. I mean, what a character! I love this guy. You mentioned it, he's still very athletic. Like he's a good athlete. He wants to be the one moving forward, pressing the action like he did against Moreno. Definitely more of the bull than the matador. He doesn't want to be pressed back. Go back to guys who've been able, more physical than him, pressing back. Guys like Vincente Luque and Jeff Neal. They crushed him with their pressure. You mentioned he's a big, long, lengthy guy. He does well to fight long, though his hand speed has really declined. He still works behind a jab. He still has nice power. He tries to be much more controlled now than when he first came in the UFC, where he was always drawn into a brawl. But actually, because of his lack of hand speed, I actually think brawling might be the best case scenario for him. Probably give him the best avenue for victory. He will make the mistake of trying to land one big shot and eat one himself, and he's very hittable. But he has insane toughness. But his chin might be gone. I mean, he looked terrible against Robbie Lawler. He's been knocked out 5 times, a lot of them recently. He will use his size well in the clinch. He's got some strong, dirty boxing. Will batter with knees and elbows in there. He uses his height well to get good angles. Not much of an offensive wrestler, not much of a defensive wrestler. Michel Pereira took him down very easily. He's got a surprisingly good submission game. Will scramble, though sometimes he'll scramble and actually put himself in worse position. But because of his size, he's hard to hold down. Now, and he's got you mentioned output. His output won him fight against Alex Moreno. He actually had good output in a very tough fight against Philip Rowe. Gorimbo, he's also a long and lengthy guy. Doesn't really fight as a distance striker though. He is a good striker. He's got fast hands, but he'll throw a lot of looping strikes. He also loves to brawl, even though he has the frame where he should be picking apart from the outside. He does much better from the outside when he's throwing kicks. He's got a big kicking game, kicks to all the areas of the body. He does use his size well in the clinch. He's the opposite when I said Price isn't a strong wrestler. Gorimbo, he's a good wrestler. He though sometimes he will shoot without a setup and kind of just dive into his opponent's legs from far away. If he gets the fight to the ground, I like his top game. He's got a strong top game, though he can stall at times. But when he lets his hands go, he's got some mean ground and pound, and he already has 6 subs on his record. I'm with you. I think this is a terrible stylistic matchup for Price. You seem like you're giving Price a better shot than I am. I like Gorimbo big here. I think he's better than Price everywhere at this point. I expect him to take Price down to beat him up there. I think the ground and pound eventually just takes over. And I want to see Gorimbo gets a late stoppage. Give me Gorimbo by 3rd round TKO.
Featherweights take the cage next at UFC Vegas 98 as Jonathan Pearce squares off against Pat Sabatini. Pearce, the 32-year-old Tennessean, is 14-6 overall. He is 5-3 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. That's the good news. The bad news is that he is on a 2-fight losing streak, stretching back almost 2 full years. He fought most recently in April at UFC on ESPN Nicolao versus Perez, where he dropped a unanimous decision to David Onama. Prior to that, you go back all the way to last November, where he got choked out with a front choke, ninja choke by Joanderson Brito in the 2nd round. Prior to that, he had been on a 5-fight win streak. He would love to start another one. In order to do so, he will have to get past Sabatini. 33-year-old Renzo Gracie Philly product is 18-5 overall. He is 5-2 since joining the UFC as the outgoing CFFC featherweight champ. He is coming in off a loss. He got knocked out in just 90 seconds by Diego Lopez at UFC 295 last November. He's looking to get back in the win column. He is the still relatively rare case of a Renzo Gracie Philly fighter entering the cage as an underdog, as Pearce is -145, Sabatini +115. Keith, I mentioned off the top that this might be the fight I'm most excited for outside of the main event. Tell me how well you like this one and who you think gets it done.
Yeah, not many people say they're excited for Pat Sabatini fights.
Dude.
And Pearce, Pearce isn't Justin Gaethje either, but I'll say this about Pearce. Like, I really don't know what we have with this guy. When he first came in the UFC, I was like, oh, he's not good. And he fought Joe Lazon and lost. And I was like, oh, man, this guy's really bad. Then he went on this run, and I was like, wow, I was wrong about it. He's pretty good. And then recently, he's looked bad again. So this is like make or break for him. What the good Pearce, he's a very intelligent fighter that puts himself in the best position to win. He marches down his foe, forces him on his back foot. He can be long and rangy, works behind a jab, follows him up with straight shots down the pipe, will toss out a flying knee to kind of pressure his opponent back, which he follows in to close the distance. He's got a good kicking game, hard kicks to the body, but most of his striking is just to distract, to close the distance, get to the clinch. When he gets in the clinch, he has no problem just grinding there, weighing on his opponent. He will look for some body lock takedowns. He hit Njokuani, which was probably one of his best showings, with a rolling Kimura, which was pretty impressive. Like, it reminded me of Kara Parisian. Good entries when he shoots. Isn't an explosive wrestler, but he has this determination and mindset, just get the fight to the ground, good at winning scrambles. On top, landing some nice elbows and scrambles against Njokuani. Good overall top game. He knows he must just like pin his opponent down and wear on them before he looks to do work with ground and pound and passing positions. He's got good ground and pound when he lets it go. If he's taken down, he gives up his back to get back up, which is dangerous. He was quickly subbed by Jonas and Brito, which I think is a loss at his age pretty well. And he's got strong cardio. I mean, he showed he can win a very heavy grappling battle. Sabatini, he's a good athlete. He moves well. He's got this karate style to his striking, with the wide base. I'd say his hands are okay. He's got some pop in his hands because of his karate style. It's also some spinning attacks. But what he really wants to do is he wants to get the fight to the ground. And he's a really good wrestler. Fast entries, gets on top, good top game, mean ground and pound. He has a submission threat. He looked for a heel hook and got a heel hook against Jamal Emmers, which was very impressive. But you got to worry about his chin. I mean, he's been knocked out twice recently. So this is a hard one to pick. And it's probably because both guys are so similar. Now, Pearce is bigger. He's longer and longer arms. And they're both decent strikers. I think they're both probably better strikers than they get credited with. But ultimately, they want to wrestle. I have flip-flopped. I kind of like both guys' game. I know, if I pick one and I get it wrong, I'm gonna be like the whole time, like, dude, why did you see that? Like, Pearce is bigger. Why did you go with Sabatini? Or if I pick Sabatini, I'm gonna say if I picked Pearce, but Sabatini's actually a better technical wrestler. Why would you go with Pearce? So I'm really, really have been on the fence on this one. If you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind. I'm going to go with the team I've been backing. I've been backing Daniel Gracie team. I'm a Daniel Gracie guy. Like, I've liked this team before it was popular. I really liked this team on the regional scene. I'm just going to back them. I'm going to say Sabatini wins the wrestling exchanges. I have zero confidence, but give me Sabatini. I say he goes all 15 minutes. I think both guys have moments in exchanges. Give me Sabatini. I'll see if I split decision.
Boom. You have your first, I don't know whether it will be the last, unanimous upset pick of the night, because I'm feeling the same way. And the reason I like this fight is that where there are a lot of fights on this card where there's one very good fighter or no very good fighters, this one definitely outside of the main card, I think has the highest level. And because they do have those broad similarities, I have been leaning Sabatini for the same reason as you. That he is more of a conventional technical wrestler, whereas Pearce is more of an effective wrestler who runs on athleticism, instinct, muscle memory. And then Pearce is a very gifted grappler. He, again, gets by on some habits that might cost him against someone like Sabatini. And you mentioned the one that I was thinking of where he will turn his back on the ground, to either get back to his feet or get to a position where he can, throw offense or try to sweep. I think Sabatini will know that, will have prepared for it, and will be able to punish him for it. Give me Sabatini by decision as well in a fight that's a whole lot of fun, at least for me. Like I love wrestling. I love MMA grappling, and I am absolutely here for this one. And I am picking the mild upset as well. Next up on the UFC Fight Night 244 undercard is a men's flyweight, knock on wood, matchup between CJ Vergara and the debuting Ramazanbek Temirov. Vergara, the 33-year-old Texan, is 12-5-1 overall. He's 3-3 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series and as the outgoing Fury FC flyweight champ. He's coming in off of a loss. He fought back in March at UFC 299, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Asu Almabayev. Prior to that, he had been on a 2-fight win streak. He'll look to start up a new win streak here against another debuting prodigy from outside the U.S. in the form of Temirov. Temirov, 27-year-old Uzbekistani, is 15-2-1 overall. This will be his UFC debut. He comes out of a number of regional promotions, especially in the CIS. He is a protege of Uzbekistani middleweight Mahmoud Muradov. He fought in Muradov's promotion a few times, but most recently fought a couple of times in Rizin Fighting Federation, where he probably decreased the population of Japan more than anyone since Godzilla and Marlon Sandro in like 2007.
Maybe.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, given Temirov's win streak and highlight reel, he is a comfortable favorite here. Temirov minus 275, Vergara plus 225. I'll preface all this by saying that CJ Vergara is a very gutsy, all heart, overachieving fighter. So as a plus 225 underdog, if I were a betting man, I wouldn't be comfortable taking the favorite against him. I don't think he's out of any fight until he's dead. Only problem is I think he might be dead. Vergara, not a great athlete, at least by the standards of the flyweight division. He's a big guy for the division, like pretty tall for the division, pretty muscular for the division, and that's reflected in the fact that he has chronic weight problems. But yeah, not terribly fast by the standards of the division, but one of the harder pure hitters in the division. He's not Manel Kopp necessarily, but he's one of the harder, like one punch, one kick type hitters in the division. But it's a little hamstrung because he's not the fastest. He doesn't always throw in combination as well as he should, and he can swing too hard and things come in a little telegraphed. I think all of that is going to spell bad news against Temirov. Temirov is a short, compact, burly flyweight. I think I already compared someone on this card in terms of physical shape to Josh Van, but I should have saved that because Temirov is the one that's really built like Van. Like Van is a short, stocky flyweight, and when you look at Van, his legs are big and his upper body's even bigger. That's Temirov. Like Temirov's got that John Dodson type build where he just looks like almost like a tiny little bodybuilder. Temirov is a high output puncher on the feet. Like he throws a few kicks, but it's mostly purely punches. Like his best work is with his hands. He has fast hands. He has a ton of power in both hands. He's a bit reckless. When you watch him fight, he'll swing huge punches that just come up short a lot. Like just his opponent has longer reach or just isn't there when Temirov's swing comes through. But when Temirov lands, he blows people up. You look back through his record, he's got a lot of first round knockouts, and they're first round knockouts of some good people. He's an exciting division to the addition to the UFC men's flyweight division. And if he lamps Vergara and then goes on and knocks out his next opponent as well, watch for the hype train to start kind of cranking around this guy. He's still just 27 years old. I think this is a very suitable first test for him, because the thing about Temirov is he already has a couple of losses on his record, and he has some habits that are going to cost him. As fast as he is and as hard as he hits, his recklessness and his like huge looping punches that will just hit air. There are guys in the UFC flyweight division that are going to make him pay for that dearly. I'm thinking of someone who doesn't have great hand speed, but is just a disciplined boxer that's good on the counter. I think Kai Kara-France would ice.
That was the exact guy
right now.
That was the exact guy. I think Moreno would too.
Yeah, just he'd watch that one go, maybe take a glancing one, and then Temirov just walks right into a short left or right and goes to sleep. Vergara's not going to do that for him, because Vergara is probably going to step into the pocket, swing big, swing hard on him as well. I'd be interested to see what happens if Vergara tries to take him down. His wrestling is pretty effective when he chooses to use it. He is, as I said, a big, strong guy for the division. But I don't think it's going to get there. I think Vergara is a suitable challenge for where Temirov is in his development, but he's also a suitable introduction for American fans, where Temirov can just start this off with a highlight reel knockout. And I think that's what he gets. Give me Temirov by first round knockout. And I think it's going to be one of those performance of the night type knockouts where, Vergara's flatlined.
Dude, this fight is gonna be fun. Like, this is. I mean, I love flyweights, and then I just love both these guys' style. You know, Vergara is a guy, he can fight out of both stances. He's a pressure fighter that's just constantly on the gas, tons of volume. He gets in the pocket and he just unloads big shots, as you mentioned. He does telegraph his shots by loading way up, but he's looking to take your head off with every shot. He's got a big kicking game when he throws his kicks. I like his body kicks. He will close the distance and battle in the clinch. I mean, he should have great clinch striking. Going back to like the Bruto Carrera fight with knees to the body. Do it his aggressive style. I mean, he's going to eat tons of shots. And he's been hurt in a bunch of fights. I go back to like the Danny Lacerda fight. Lacerda hurt him bad. Not much of an offensive wrestler. He hardly ever wrestles and isn't a sub-threat if he does get the fight to the ground. He's a weak defensive wrestler. But he's got a pretty good overall get-up game. I mean, he was quickly submitted by Tetsuya Taira, but I mean, that's obviously, not this level. He is this, his submission defense is still pretty good. I give him a pass for that, and he's got great cardio. He's going to keep coming the whole time. Temirov is a really good addition to the UFC. Very aggressive striker. People are going to like his style. Quick hands, tons of hooks. We just mentioned, but the name, but he reminds me of like a flyweight Vanderlei Silva. He's going to get in there. He's going to throw big looping shots, crushing overhand rights. Like, he will overthrow his shots, and he also loads up on everything, but he's got serious power. And that's because he really steps into every punch. He's got 10 TKOs already. He's got 4 knockouts in a row. He'll also throw out spinning attacks. He loves like spinning kicks to the body. He doesn't want to wrestle, but he can sneak in a takedown every once in a while. If he gets the fight to the ground, he advances his position on the ground, and he looks for ground and pound. He's got some mean ground and pound. I love flyweights, and I love these guys' style. I see it like the same you do. I expect both guys to just meet in the middle and throw it down in the pocket and see who's the last one standing. The issue is I've seen Vergara's defense being terrible. I've seen his chin fail him. I think these guys get in the pocket and Temirov clips him. I'm with you. I say Temirov wins very first round knockout.
Next up at UFC Vegas 98, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a welterweight clash between Chidi Njokuani and Jared Gooden. Njokuani, the 35-year-old Nigerian by way of Las Vegas, is 23-10 with 1 no contest overall. He is 3-3 since joining the UFC out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He started his UFC run with 2 straight first-round knockouts. One of the more surprising late career signings in recent memory in the UFC. It looked like we might be in for some fun. He then went on to lose 3 in a row in pretty one-sided fashion, and it looked as though the fun might be over. But he did bounce back with a win in his most recent appearance, though he was taken to the wire by Reese McKee, and that was a split decision win at UFC on ESPN, Blanchfield versus Fior back in March. He will look to make it 2 in a row here against Gooden. Gooden, 30-year-old Atlanta native, is 23-9 overall. He is 2-4 in the UFC across 2 separate stints with the promotion. He went 1-3 a couple of years ago, pretty recently. I mean, it was within the purview of the Shillan and Duffy show, so within the last 4 or 5 years. He was released, went and won some fights primarily in the Southeast, got re-signed last year, and since then he is 1-1. He lost his return bout to Carlston Harris last March, then came back last December and tapped out Wellington Turman in the second round. So Gooden looking to make it 2 wins in a row in the UFC, something he has yet to do. He is not favored to do so. Njokuani is minus 185 here, Gooden plus 155. Keith, I'm going to flip this one to you first, but I'm going to point something out first as well. So this fight, Njokuani versus Gooden, is the top prelim. The main card opener is Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Josh Fremd. If you lined up those 4 people for someone that knows MMA but maybe isn't following it right up to the minute and said, okay, these 2 guys are fighting, Njokuani and Gooden. These 2 guys are fighting, Al Hassan and Fremd. One of them is a welterweight bout and one of them is a middleweight bout. I think about 99% of them would guess wrong. Njokuani versus Gooden is going to be one of the hugest pairings of welterweights I think the UFC has ever seen.
I mean, those other 2 guys are pretty big dudes too, though.
They are. Like,
especially Fremd. Fremd's like tall and
Fremd is super tall. Like Al Hassan is more the short, compact thing, but Njokuani and Gooden are 2 really big dudes to make 170 pounds. Tell me who you think wins this one, how it plays out.
Yeah, Gooden looks like a guy that like could be in the NFL instead, like be like a strong safety or something, or a smaller linebacker, fullback. You mean like or a bigger running back or something like that. This is. That said, like this fight could be fun, but this is one of the fights that I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. Like I know what we got with Chidi and Njokuani and Jared Gooden at this point. Like neither guy's ever going to make a run. Chidi's a long and lengthy guy. He's got those really long arms and legs. He's a very good striker, relaxed and poised. He can be too relaxed sometimes and too low output. When he's let his hands go, he switches stance in mid combination, which I like. Very good from distance. He wants to keep his. He hates being pressured. Go back to like the Michelle Seychuk fight. He didn't like being forced on his back foot. If he gets in the pocket, he starts looking for slicing elbows, which I like. He has really good power in striking and kicking. He's got a good kicking game, good calf kicks. I love his step in knees. My favorite part of his game. He does well to get to the clinch and grind on his opponents. He's we think of him. We always think kickboxing. He's an underrated grappler. Like he's a BJJ black belt. He almost caught Dusko Todorovic in a slick anaconda choke. No, don't get me wrong. Like he's still a very bad defensive wrestler. I mean, he was taken down against. He's been taken on a lot, but he showed like somewhat improved takedown defense against Reese McKee. But like, I'm not too excited about his takedown defense. He can, his biggest issue, he can't get off the bottom. Like he's which is worse than not being able to stop takedowns. I don't mind guys who like Derek Lewis can't stop takedowns, but he also gets right back up. So also the thing I've said about Njokuani is that I think he might be a front runner. I mean, they go back to like the Olasejic fight. He seemed to like mentally break when things weren't going the way he wanted. Gooden's you mentioned a really big guy, tight boxing, not a lot of tells, kind of just touches until he finds the openings, and then he unleashes bigger shots, and he's got good power. He does well to slide into his range. He works the body. He does throw a lot of naked uppercuts, like which I really don't like, but he looks for him a lot. He also doesn't handle pressure well. He has some defensive issues. He drops his hands. He doesn't block much at all. He's a very, very hittable guy. He doesn't move his head. He will look for a takedown, but he's not a great wrestler, and he's not a good defensive wrestler. He struggles to get off the bottom. And last thing I'm worried about is his chin. I mean, like guy like Wellington Turman hurt him a bunch of times. Um, I'm going with Chidi. I'm not high on him, but I still think like Gooden's a guy that it still, he's not a big enough takedown threat to do damage there against Chidi. Whereas I think it'll be mostly either a clinch battle, which Chidi can do well in there, or a distance kickboxing match. And I think he pieces Gooden up from range. I think if Gooden gets inside, Chidi might look for knees and elbows, and I see Chidi finishes him. And I'm gonna say he does it. We'll say early the second round.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to that, and I have nothing to take away from it. My thought as I kind of broke this fight down was if it turns into the kind of matchup of these two that would be the most favorable to Gooden, just a measured I go, then you go Muay Thai style, maybe outside kickboxing match, I would still favor Njokuani in that. And any other iteration of this fight favors Njokuani even more. As you mentioned, if it turns into more of a phone booth or against the fence clinch type battle, I heavily favor Njokuani there. And Njokuani also has the outlet of his underrated wrestling, which the main problem with it is that he doesn't use it enough. He's almost like a smaller Nigerian Alistair Overeem, where you think of him as a kickboxer because the guy has like more Muay Thai fights even than he has MMA fights, but his takedowns are solid and his top game is mean. And when you've got someone like Gooden who
Valentina Shevchenko, another one.
Perfect. Yeah. And you've got an opponent like Gooden that isn't especially more skilled than Njokuani anywhere and is 6'4" and probably wears pants with like a 46-inch inseam. He's practically begging to be taken down. I favor Njokuani here as well. And I'm going to say he gets it done with a third round TKO after probably winning most of the fight up to that point, whether it's standing or on the ground. The UFC Fight Night 244 main card begins with a middleweight matchup between Abdul Razak Alhassan and Josh Fremd. Alhassan, the 39-year-old, no longer Fortis, now Elevation Fight Team product, is 12-6 with one no contest overall. He is an even 6-6 with one no contest in the UFC. He's coming in off of that no contest. His fight with Cody Brundage back in July lasted all of 37 seconds before it was called off due to a hail of illegal elbows. Prior to that, he had alternated fight wins and losses in his last 4 fights, stretching all the way back to the middle of 2021. So he's looking to get back in the win column, get his first win in well over 18 months. He will have to get past Fremd in order to do it. Fremd, 30-year-old Pennsylvanian by way of Colorado, is 11-6 overall. He is 2-4 in the UFC, and he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Since picking up a unanimous decision over Jamie Pickett a little over a year ago, he has back-to-back losses to Roman Kopylov and Andre Petroski. The most recent of those, the Petroski fight, was in July at UFC on ESPN, Namajunas versus Cortez. So Fremd, entirely possible he's fighting for his job here. Certainly would not want to embark on the first 3-fight losing streak of his career. He is not favored to snap the skid, however, as Alhassan is a mild to moderate favorite, minus 155, Fremd plus 125. Keith, these are two guys I'm not sure. I never saw either of them as a future champ or probably even a future contender, but I think I foresaw both of these guys doing better than they have done. Alhassan is literally, dead even 6-6 in the UFC right now, but has like some hideous losses, had a couple of bad weight misses while he was, still trying to make 170. And at this point he's pushing 40. Like
weird shit happened to him.
Yeah. Like again, this is the card full of
no contacts, whatever.
Yeah. Weird, unlucky / low fight IQ fighters all gathered in the same place. Like this should be a weird card. And then Fremd, you and I were talking a little bit about this between fights, but if you win the LFA middleweight title, and Fremd didn't quite win it, but he fought for it, I think twice. If you come out as a standout middleweight in LFA, the UFC is going to sign you. And it kind of plays out where at best you turn out to be Gregory Rodriguez and you're a top 10 fixture. And for a minute there, it looked like you might make a title shot. Yeah. Anthony Hernandez, in your book and mine, maybe the most underrated fighter in the UFC right now. And at worst, you turn into an Ian Heinisch or Marcus Perez where, hey, you at least win a couple fights and they're fun and you get, 6 or 8 fights in the UFC, and that's not too bad. That's something that LFA has been able to hang its hat on for like a decade now. Hey, come fight for us. We'll get you to the UFC.
Heinisch was ranked at one point.
Yeah. Heinisch was
lower ranked, but
Heinisch was ranked. He was favored to beat Kelvin Gastelum, and Kelvin Gastelum showed up, decided to be Kelvin Gastelum for a night, and it all came crashing down. But yeah, like Heinisch was good. These guys are a little on the disappointing side, I think, like just compared to expectations. I'm not even going to ask you if you see top 15 upside in either guy, because I know the answer to that. But tell me who you think keeps his job here.
Well, in fairness, it is middleweight. It's not the hardest one to get into, but
no.
If you were going to answer that question, then it would have to be Al Hassan, because he still is explosive and hits hard and stuff. Frem is what he is at this point, but this is just a filler fight to me. I'm gonna have the same exact notes from sometimes when you do tape study, you have to sacrifice. You can't get to every fight. I'm like, I'll keep the same notes for the guy who fought 30 seconds on his last fight. So he's 39 years old, which is obviously troublesome. Especially for a guy that relies on being explosive. That's such a huge part of his game. I think his hand speed is declining. And if that's the case, everything that follows will fall apart because, that's what he's always been. He's never been a technical guy. He's a big, quick, explosive guy. He's got huge fight ending power. He's good at hand fighting and finding his range that way. Big kicking game. He likes to throw kicks with his combos. He doesn't check leg kicks. He has some defensive issues. Stands directly in front of his opponent as a stationary target. He pillars to avoid strikes. You got to worry about his durability. Dude's been hurt a lot, been knocked out. He doesn't wrestle much, but he can get a takedown. I mean, he got 3 takedowns against Joaquin Buckley. When he wrestles, it should give him more opportunities to land strikes, which ultimately is his best way to win. He's a weak defense wrestler. I mean, Jacob Malkoon and Joe Pyfer took him down easily. I mean, again, those are 2 really good guys, but still, my point is, you can take him down. We saw in his last fight, he likes downward elbows to defend takedowns, and he's got crushing ones. He isn't. He's not a big submission grappler. Joe Piper did sub him, and I mean, change weight classes. I mean, he whatever you want to do, he'll never fix his cardio. He does not have good cardio. Josh Frem, he's a big guy for the weight class. Like we were just talking about, Chidi and them. But I mean, Frem's a big guy. The problem is he's a really bad athlete. He tries to make up with pressure, and when he wins, he does beat guys with volumes. And he's he's fairly technical. He works behind a jab, throws straight shots down the pipe. He's got a nice check left hook with a little bit of power. But because of his pressure style, he's been cracked a lot. Go back to the Roman Kovalov fight. He might be too tough for his own good. I mean, he took a massive beating before he got knocked out by Kovalov. He has a big kicking game. He doesn't check leg kicks though. He likes to close the distance and use his size to grind in the clinch. I mean, go back to the Jamie Pickett fight. That's where he won there. He got no issues with grinding out rounds. He will occasionally get a takedown, but definitely not a wrestler. His takedown defense is really bad. I mean, Andre Petrowski took him down over and over and over again. I mean, Petrowski is obviously a good wrestler, but it was just man, you gotta have some kind of resistance. He is a submission threat. He's got 4 subs on his record, and he, the guillotine choke's a little bit of a specialty to him. I mean, Al Hassan's all speed and power, but I've said this before. I think he's a front runner. If he gets tired, Frem could really take over. Second and third round, get a late stoppage. As the fight progresses, the more I favor Frem. I'm still going to go the other way. Frem showed insane toughness. Hassan can be brilliant at times. They becoming like less and less frequent. But if you pick Frem and he gets starched early by Al Hassan, you're like, dude, that was such a stupid pick. If you pick Al Hassan and he gasses out and Frem takes over, you're like, nah, like it's all right. He didn't catch his shot. What would you say that? Like I'm taking Al Hassan. What did you say the bet line was?
Al Hassan's minus 155, Fremd plus 125.
Okay, I was hoping he was going to be like over 200. I'd be like, if you want to take a small bet on Frem, or if you want a live bet, like if he goes to the second round, if you can throw a live bet on Frem. But I'm going to say Al Hassan does it early. Give me Al Hassan by first round TKO.
You have described the exact kind of like flow chart, like tree of possibilities that I saw when I thought about this fight, right down to if you pick Fremd and he gets obliterated in 90 seconds, you're going to look dumb in front of everybody. Well, here I go. You have your first disagreement of the Shillan and Duffy preview for UFC Vegas 98, because Fremd's his resume on paper in the UFC is just cut and dry. He's beaten two bad fighters. I mean, like, just Pickett's not good, and Dumas might be good one day, but he's exactly the kind of guy that was just going to stick his head in the guillotine choke from a higher fight IQ, more experienced fighter like Fremd. And then all the decent to good fighters that Fremd has fought have beaten him easily, uncontroversially. So basically, Fremd needs an opponent that's going to make a mistake, gas out, or just isn't that good. Al Hassan is good. He has good skills. It's funny that his nickname is Judo Thunder, since all the thunder just comes from him like knocking people in the next week. And I seriously don't think I've seen him use any judo techniques in his entire UFC run. But dude, you even said it. Like, if you're the betting type, watch the live odds, because if Al Hassan wins the first round and maybe even knocks Fremd down, still hammer that button for Fremd, because Al Hassan gets tired, and when he gets tired, one of two things happens. Either his output dries up completely, and Fremd wins the second and third rounds, or he gets sloppy, and Fremd either just steps under a slow haymaker, takes him down, and goes to work, or Fremd just runs him to the fence, slaps on the tall man guillotine, since Al Hassan is charitably listed at 5'11". I've been in the same room as Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I'm 5'9", and I think he's exactly my same height. Fremd is 6'4", and he just does the tall man guillotine where you don't even have to shoot on him. You're already in his armpit. Give me one of those things. I'm going to say it's the tall man guillotine. Fremd by decision wouldn't surprise me, but give me Fremd by third round submission, and probably the patented tall man guillotine.
You know about Hassan? Hassan might hurt Fremd early with like a 6-punch combination, and then not throw 6 punches the rest of the fight.
And that means I'm picking the outcome that will keep Fremd in the UFC, continuing to confuse my spell checker on Microsoft Word. Great. Did you mean friend? No. Next up on the UFC Fight Night 244 main card is a welterweight matchup between Daniel Rodriguez and Alex Morono. Rodriguez, the 37-year-old Southern Californian, is 17-5 overall. He is 7-4 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. That is the good news. The bad news is that he is on a 3-fight losing streak. It is the first losing streak of any kind in his entire career, but it's not been great. Stretching back all 2 full years, he has a submission loss to Neil Magny, a first-round knockout against Ian Gary, and a straightforward decision loss to Kelvin Gastelum. That one, his most recent appearance, was in June at UFC on ABC, Whitaker versus Alaskarov. Rodriguez will look to snap that losing streak and prove that at age 37, almost 38, if not a contender run, he still has enough left in the tank to stay afloat in the deepest division in the UFC, perhaps. He'll be facing a man that honestly is looking to prove the same thing in the form of Morono. Morono, 34-year-old from Houston, is 24-10 with 1 no contest overall. He is 13-7 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He is coming in off of a loss. He fought back in June at UFC 302, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Niko Price, marking the second time he's come up short against Price. Their first meeting 7 years ago, of course, was overturned when Price tested positive for definitely not birth control. I don't remember exactly what the substance was, but yeah. Anyway, Morono looking to get back in the win column as well. He is not favored to do so. Rodriguez is minus 200, Morono plus 170. In broad strokes, there are some similarities between these two guys. They're two guys that I won't say overachieved. I'll say that Rodriguez has overachieved and Morono is probably, or not, I say Morono is overachieved and Rodriguez surprised in the UFC because, you know, Rodriguez came in relatively unheralded, already like 32 years old, and started beating good fighters. And he himself, even though he was in his 30s, was visibly improving from fight to fight. Like his physical condition was getting better. He was getting more and more terrifying tattoos. His skill set was evolving. And then it all seemed to sort of hit the wall about 2 years ago. Morono, similar. Like he looks overachiever, like not a plus athlete by the standards of the division, not a big guy by the standards of the division, but skilled, smart, and tough. And you know, has beaten some very good fighters in the UFC. But the similarity is that both of these guys seem to be showing the wear of just blood and guts battles. Rodriguez really hit a wall. I mean, leading into UFC 279, the card that, if you remember, Khamzat Chimaev blew up by missing weight. The shuffle ended up with Li Jingliang meeting Rodriguez. Rodriguez ended up picking up the split decision there. That was his 4th win in a row in the UFC. He was 6-1 in the UFC at the time. And I don't know if he was in the Sherdog rankings or the UFC rankings, but he was at least right on the cusp of it because his very next fight was against Neil Magny. And I'm mortally certain that the winner of that fight would have been ranked if he wasn't already. And from there, he's fallen. I mean, he's probably Magny's last really good win. He allowed Ian Gary to kind of level up by just wrecking him. And when you lose to Kelvin Gastelum in 2024, the way that Rodriguez did, it's not a good sign. He seems to have not gotten old, but started to show his age basically overnight. Morono, it's a bit of the same thing. Morono isn't that old. I mean, he just barely turned 34, but it's an old 34. And it's concerning because, yeah, he lost to Price back in June, but it's the way he lost to Price because the things that Morono used to be very reliable about were gone. It's the most tired I've ever seen him in a fight. It's the most easily rocked I've ever seen him in a fight. Like, I should probably pause here and preface. I am literally wearing an Alex Morono t-shirt here. If you're a regular, you already know the story. I know him. He lives in my town. He runs the gym I train at. He's a friend, but I'm also not afraid to pick against him. Like he's a good enough friend that he'll laugh at me if I pick against him. But at just barely 34 years old,
that's pretty ballsy there, though.
He's a good dude. Like, I mean, for one thing, his wife could knock me out, so he doesn't even have. He can just laugh it off. If he's really mad, like, you know, he could probably just send Janice to like head kick me. But against the things that were always reliable about Morono, he always gets hit cleanly. He even win or lose, he gets hit cleanly a few times every single fight, and it's because he's not the fastest guy. He's very aggressive on the feet. He has a punch heavy style, and he's not a huge guy, so his whole fight style requires him to get into the pocket, usually against bigger guys, sometimes faster guys. And he's been tough enough and his power is underrated enough that he's willing to give one to take one or take one to give one. And at least through his first 20 UFC fights, that was good enough. The concerning thing now is that he seems easier to hurt. Like everything Price hit him with in June seemed to wobble him. And it's tough because Morono already has a very unorthodox fighting stance. Like it's very stiff-legged. And since when somebody gets rocked, one of the first things you see is like their legs lock up, and they stumble or they get knocked all the way out and they go down with stiff legs. It just makes it look like everything hurts even worse than it does. It's not a great look for the judges. And in Morono's case back at UFC 302, considering that he was getting tired faster than Price, at least some of that was real damage piling up. So that makes it difficult for me to pick the upset here against Rodriguez. But then, Rodriguez has looked just so flat in his last couple fights going back a whole 2 years. This is a hard one for me to pick. Like, if I pick Morono here, it's not because like he owns my gym. It's just because I think Rodriguez has actually fallen off even more. And as the older guy in the fight he's probably aged even more in the time since either of those guys has fought. This is a hard one for me to pick. And I have the feeling that for two guys that are generally reliable action fighters, this one may actually be a little bit of a dud, because that's the other thing that has happened to Morono recently. He used to be a very reliable action fighter, even if it meant he went out on a shield from time to time, like when Chaos Williams iced him, when he basically lost his fight against Santiago Ponzinibbio in the last 2 minutes just by getting caught with one huge punch. But against Joaquin Buckley, he was actually a little slow on the trigger. Against Price, he started losing those exchanges and just wasn't even able to get into them as the fight wore on. Like, Price was starting to roll downhill on him. And then Rodriguez in his last three fights is just, well, in the Gary fight, we basically didn't see anything, but against Magny and Gastelum, two guys that are kind of aging themselves, Rodriguez just seemed flat. He didn't seem to have as much to offer offensively as he used to. I see this as kind of a coin flip fight, which is saying something in itself, considering that Rodriguez is a 2-1 favorite right now. I'm going to go with Morono by decision, just because while he may be in decline, the super flatness and the super like weird early gassing out that he seemed to show against Price, I'm hoping and banking on that being like a one-off bad night at the office. Give me Morono by decision in a fight where both these guys are looking pretty tired and pretty compromised by about the 8-minute mark.
Plus, he's been working with you on his wrestling game.
Believe me, he has not been working with me on it. Dude,
maybe he doesn't want any.
I don't even touch Ricky Tercios, and I probably outweigh him by 100 pounds. Like, yeah, no.
We gotta when Moreno hangs it up, we gotta get him on the show as a special guest on one of the recaps or something. He'd do it.
I'm sure he'd be happy to.
You know what? One day when I'm not here, you just have. You know what? Ben, have him recap this one. Yeah, I mean, this is your boy, and I've interviewed him once. Obviously, I don't know him like you know him, but he seems like a really good dude. Rodriguez, obviously, I think Rodriguez is from a really tough area. It was like from like South Central or something, and yeah, he's got.
I mean, I'm not saying he is, like, obviously he's not, but he's like got the tattoos of like an M13 gang member.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He looks scary as hell.
Yeah.
Like, if he was on some HBO series about like prisons in Southern California, you wouldn't blink.
Absolutely. Yeah. If he plays one in a movie or something, like, you're bringing in, they do The Wire, but they do it in South Central. Like, yeah.
He'd almost have to. They can't have him play a kindergarten teacher. Like, he's got like chain link coming out of his collar. And
I mean, he's a big welterweight. What I was gonna say about he has a good story and things he's overcome and stuff. So two guys that are easy to root for. He's a big dude, welterweight, southpaw, good volume on the feet. I think I'm still a little higher at his boxing than you are at this point. He still has decent hand speed, works by the crisp jab. I've said this before about him, like everything is centered around his jab. It's very like Sean Strickland, like he has no problem if he throws 150 strikes, 135 of them being jabs. Like to him, like that's a good night. He's go back to like the Lee Jin-Young fight. It was his only weapon. That said, when he lets his straight left go, it's really good and clean. I like his check hook. He hurt Tim Means with it. He hurt Preston Parsons. Going back a couple, while now, but hurt them with those. He still has some good power. He landed some big shots in Gastelum, though he didn't follow him up. He was point fighting a little bit too much in that. And the one thing is, you say he was flat, and I think that, but a lot of arm punches instead of stepping in and cracking. Like he wasn't hurting anybody too much because, I don't know, like it seemed like a lack of commitment to get in and throw down hard. He does have a great chin though. He can eat, big shots and keep fighting. He abandoned leg kicks completely against Gastelum. That's another thing I thought was an issue. He's a better grappler than he gets credited with. He doesn't look to wrestle often, but he, occasionally can sneak in a takedown every once in a while. He's shown solid takedown defense in the past, but struggled to stop takedowns against Neil Magny. He has 3 subs on his record, but it's definitely not his game. Though he did catch Tim Means in a submission recently, though that submission doesn't hold the same weight as it did not that long ago. And his gas tank failed him. I mean, he failed bad against Neil Magny in that fight. And I mean, Neil Magny, like historically, is a guy that that's how he he beats you. Neil Magny mentally breaks you, and it looks like that's what he did. In his fight against Rodriguez. Moreno's he's surprisingly a decent athlete. I mean, when at his best, when he's sticking and moving, his best showing was that Semmelsberger fight where he was surprisingly pretty fast. He can be drawn into a brawl though, because he likes to get in the pocket and lets his hand go. He struggled with the length of Tim Means, which has not aged well. He looks slow against Court McGee. His hand speed wasn't the best, but to me at this point, it's kind of bad. His power is the last thing to fade. I mean, if anybody's last thing to fade. So he still has some surprising pop. He can load up too much on his shots though, and he was never this like one punch and the fight kind of game. I do like his kicking game. Throws a lot of kicks, toss out some spinning attacks, which I'm not a fan of. His defense has improved much. He kind of bounces his head around like Dominic Cruz was doing a lot of that, though he didn't move his head much against Court McGee, which is surprising. And I think you said best. He's not reacting to punches well. That's concerning. He's never been a good wrestler. Always been a god awful defensive wrestler. He's got a good BJJ school and he's got his wrestling coach Ben Duffy. Yeah, I don't want to be the one to tell the people. Can I tell? Because Ben's a very humble guy. Like the last time Ben stepped on a mat, it was in Texas when he took out Bo Nickal in a wrestling match. So, so he's working with some serious wrestlers, but he'll toss up a lot of submission attempts from the bottom instead of trying to work to get back up to his feet. Definitely like old school BJJ mentality. And you said it best. His gas tank looks completely gone. I mean, it was really bad against Niko Pearce. He was gassed out midway through the second round in a fight that I really thought should have favored him. So I said it last time that I think Moreno should retire. I mean, obviously extremely well. He's got a good team down there. I think it could be one of those ones that can make even a bigger jump if he's totally full time as the coach. I'm going the opposite, man. I think Rodriguez styles on your boy. I think he batters him on the feet with strikes and eventually gets a knockout when Moreno is gone, especially if Rodriguez goes to the body. Give me Rodriguez by second round TKO.
Next up on the UFC Vegas 98 main card is a strawweight matchup between Corey McKenna and late replacement opponent Julia Pilastri. McKenna, the 25-year-old, no, that can't be right. The 14-year-old Welsh woman is 8-3 overall. She is 3-2 since joining the UFC out of season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. She is coming in off a loss. She got tapped out quickly, like in 90 seconds or so, by Jackie Amarim back at the Tuivasa versus Tybura fight night in March. Prior to that, she had been on a 2-fight win streak, but then took all of 2023 off. Among other things, she got married. I think she actually did have an injury as well. But since being back, not looked great in about 90 seconds of work. She had been scheduled to take on Poliana Viana. Viana was forced to withdraw with an injury. In steps Polastri. 26-year-old Brazilian, 12-4 overall, 0-1 since joining the UFC as a two-time veteran of Dana White's Contender Series. She fought on the 5th season about 3 years ago, was frankly overmatched by Jasmine Jasudavicius. She went and won a couple of fights in LFA, got another shot last September, and tapped out Patricia Alujas in the second round. That got her ticket punched to the big octagon, where she made her debut in June at UFC on ESPN, Perez versus Tyra, and she dropped a unanimous decision to Josephine Knudsen. So she's looking for her first UFC win. McKenna looking for her first UFC win since being back. Despite being the late notice opponent, Polastri is your slight favorite here. She's minus 120, McKenna plus 105. I don't know who's going to win on Saturday, even though in the next 3 to 4 minutes, I'm going to give you my guess. But I can tell you this, McKenna's chances of winning are much, much higher now than they were when she was taking on Poliana Viana. If she took on Poliana Viana, I didn't do tape study on it since she fell out a little while ago, but another 90-second armbar would not have been outside the realm of possibility. Here against Polastri, some of the same dynamic plays out here, because just I feel bad saying this about a 25-year-old fighter that has, I mean, she has 5 fights in the UFC, but a 25-year-old fighter, I feel like we've already seen her ceiling. Like, she's not really a plus athlete. She's one of those rare women's strawweights that looks like she might be carrying a few extra pounds here and there. That's not normally the case. Not a great athlete. And even the things that often improve for a fighter as they move into their late 20s and go towards 30, if she develops a little more punching power, that doesn't matter a whole lot, because her game doesn't really run on punching power. She's at her best when she's taking on a fighter, and she is definitely the better grappler. And if she's the better grappler, she is tough and crafty and technical enough that she can win, even if she is the smaller woman or the lesser athlete. Like, Kay Hansen isn't big, but Kay Hansen was a fantastic athlete. Same for Vanessa Demopoulos, and Demopoulos is actually a pretty good grappler herself. McKenna handled both of them. McKenna handled Cheyenne. Is she Cheyenne Delidze now? I don't know. They have a kid. I don't know if they're married. But against Jackie Amarim, who's a very good grappler.
Look, you with the inside scoop.
It's not that inside. I mean, like, I saw pictures of her like all big and pregnant and big hairy Roman Dolidze grinning in the background. Like, I assume it's his kid. If not, he seems really happy about it.
It might be Niko Price's kid.
Alex Oliveira returns to the UFC to provide for that kid.
It could be Renato Moicano's dad's kid, for all we know.
All right, so when her kid is named Moicaninho, little Moicano, well, we'll know why. But against Jackie Amarim, she was just outclassed. Like, at least as good a grappler technically, faster, stronger, better athlete. I think if she had fought Poliana Viana, it would have been a little more of that. And Polastri could do that to her as well. But then on top of it, I think Polastri's faster, more athletic, better striker. This, for a fight that's it's the closest thing we have on this card to a pick'em. I actually like Polastri a lot in this one. Unless Polastri is really compromised by the relative short notice, I think she probably handles McKenna. Like, I'm not picking the finish here. And for the record, I don't think of Polastri probably as a future title contender. I think she's just a little too small. But yeah, I think Polastri probably beats up McKenna pretty good. I think Pilastri probably forces this fight to stay on the feet. Peppers McKenna with kind of medium volume, low power punches. But because McKenna is Welsh, after 3 jabs and like 90 seconds into the first round, she will look like somebody like rolled her down a hill of sharp rocks. So she's going to be like bright red and like bleeding from somewhere like that. Yeah. It's rough. I think it's an actual handicap being that pale, you know, like
she'll come in with a cut on her knee before she even walks in the octagon.
Well, you know, or Pilastri will throw like one leg kick and McKenna's thigh will look like somebody hit her with a bullwhip, you know, like it's rough. Give me Pilastri by decision here. And if my pick is really right, I'm not going to say it's a thrashing, but it's one where just McKenna can't get off enough offense to make any of the 3 rounds even all that questionable. So give me Pilastri to probably take all 3 rounds here in kind of a moderately paced fight.
Yeah, I think the biggest question about this fight is why is it so high up the card? Like, if you were having me guess which fight's going to open the card, I would have guessed this one because, you know, it's always, you know, they always have women lower on the card. And I mean, McKenna's on a losing streak. McKenna's inconsistent. I mean, she looked great against Kay Hansen, looked good against Miranda Granger, 2 like lower level UFC talents, but I think like, you know, has shown glimpses themselves. But then she looked really bad against Lise Reed. Like obviously Jacqueline Amarin, like she looked terrible. She's not a great athlete. She is a brute though. Like she's more strong than she is technical, and she's not even in her power years. So that as far as her striking skills, she switches stances a lot. She likes to stick and move, slide in the pocket, land, and try to get out before being countered. Big kicking game. Throws a lot of kicks. She closes the distance and she likes to use her strength and grind inside the clinch. She's a decent wrestler. She does well to drive through the hips and cut the corner. She loves back trips, which I actually like part of her game. She doesn't set up her entries all that time, and she definitely doesn't set them up with striking. It's probably the reason, it's probably the biggest reason why she loses. It's just complete, like her wrestling is the best part of her game, that she completely abandoned the wrestling against Lise Reed, which was weird. She's not a good not a good defensive wrestler. She is a submission threat, though. She caught Miranda Granger and a Von Flue choke, though she was quickly just subbed by Jacqueline Amarin. But worse than getting subbed by Amarin is that she went for a takedown Amarin, and which is super dumb considering the credentials of Amarin and BJJ. I mean, they're off the charts. Pilastri, she's a solid striker. I like how poised she is, very relaxed on the feet. She can be too relaxed sometimes. Because of her Muay Thai style, she stands directly in front of her opponent. She marches down her opponent with good volume. She's a bit of a builder that gets stronger as the fight moves along. She'll slide to the pocket and unload big shots. She kind of what I like is that she will just touch until there is an opening, and that's when she really steps in. She's got some good power. I love her body work. She's got a good kicking game, like her teep kicks, like her calf kicks. Defensively, she drops her hands a little too much for my liking, pulls her head straight back. Also tries to roll with punches, which has actually kind of grown on me more than I've said in the past. She does eat a lot of punches, though. She's a decent wrestler. She can sneak in a takedown. Good overall top game. Got some mean ground and pound, and she's got 3 subs on her record. It's funny because I give McKenna a little bit better a chance than you do because if her wrestling's on, and I know I don't know if it's because she didn't wrestle Lise Reed that she came out trying to wrestle Amarin. I think she might try to get it there. But Pilastri, like you said, is she's more of a run. She has more avenues for victory. I think she wins the exchange on the feet, and I think this leads her to a decision win.
Third from the top on the UFC Vegas 98 main card is a lightweight clash between Grant Dawson and Rafa Garcia. Dawson, the 30-year-old Nebraskan by way of Florida now, is 21-2-1 overall. He is 9-1-1 since joining the UFC out of the very first season of Dana White's Contender Series. He won his last time out. It was a unanimous decision over Joel Solecki at UFC 302 back in June. That allowed him to put in the rear view frankly, disaster of his first headlining spot, as last October he and Bobby Green headlined UFC Fight Night 229, and he got knocked out in 33 seconds. He will look to put that bad night at the office further in the rear view by picking up a win over Garcia. Garcia, 30-year-old Mexican by way of Colorado, by way now of Southern California, is 16-3 overall. He is 4-3 since joining the UFC out of a bunch of promotions, but primarily off of a long run in Combate Americas. He is on a 2-fight win streak. That's the good news. The bad news is that the 2-fight win streak stretches back 2 full years, as he has basically been fighting once a year for the last little while now. All the way back in December of 2022, he took a unanimous decision over Maheshate, then came back last April and took a unanimous decision over Clay Guida. It is now 18 months later. He's coming back, trying to make it a 3rd win in a row against Dawson, and he is not favored to do so, to say the least, as he is the biggest underdog on the card. Dawson is minus 425. Garcia plus 300 or so. If you're watching this on video, then you saw Keith make the "is that the line" face. I'm interested to hear Keith's take on this one, because when I look at it, I felt okay about the line and was more surprised about the matchup. Like I was like, why is this the fight they're giving Dawson? Wow. You know, Dawson has 1 loss in the UFC, and it was getting lamped by Bobby Green, and it's a terrible one.
Bad one.
But I don't watch that and think that's something that Rafa Garcia could take notes and go in and do. It basically is. I think this is a horrid style matchup for Rafa Garcia, but the problem is that I've been underestimating Garcia basically for his whole UFC run. Like, he's 4-3 in the UFC, but that's deceptive. Like, he's been darn good, and he's
hate Rafa Garcia.
I do not hate Rafa Garcia.
You write him angry letters every day.
No, like, he's been out of Combate long enough that I don't associate him with Campbell anymore. So like he's a-okay. No, I just expected him to become just another guy in the UFC, and there are people that are 4-3 in the UFC lightweight division, and they are just another guy. But he's beaten some good fighters. Like, I think Natan Levy, especially the way he beat him, was a good win. I thought beating Maheshate was a good win. I mean, while beating Clay Guida in 2023, that is a stock that is, you know, going down every year that Guida like comes back for more. Like, Garcia's turned into a solid addition to the UFC lightweight division. If you had asked me when he joined the UFC, I guess 3.5 years ago at this point, I would have put down money that he would have been out of the UFC by 2024. And that's not the case. He's in the UFC and he's going for his 3rd straight win. The problem to me is that he's a small, I mean, not small, but like definitely short and compact lightweight who is a decent boxer, but not like a big power guy, and a good offensive grappler who's a decent wrestler, but not a lights out wrestler. I think that just matches up badly against the things that Dawson does well. You know, if you look at Dawson's record, his little breakdown right underneath our faces here, you see he's got a ton of submissions, and that's true, and he is a good submission artist, but the reason he has so many submissions is that he is such a good wrestler that he spends a lot of time on the ground with his foes at the time, the place, and the position of his choosing. And he has out wrestled good wrestlers like Mark Madsen, Jared Gordon, Demiris Magulov. I mean, even his last fight, Joe Selecki, I think Joe Selecki's a good wrestler. He didn't have time to test his wrestling against Bobby Green, but again, the entire UFC lightweight division, if they watch that fight, there's only about 5 or 6 of them that go, okay, you can catch Dawson coming in, land on the chin, and put him out in the first 30 seconds. Like, it's not a path to victory that's replicable for most of the guys in that division. I think this is just a bad matchup for Garcia, because if Dawson wants this fight on the ground, it's going to spend a lot of time on the ground, but it's going to be with Dawson on top, maybe even having scooped and slammed Garcia and like landed inside control and stuff like that or if Dawson decides that he likes how things are going on the feet, I don't think Garcia is going to be able to do anything about it. I think it's a really good style matchup for Dawson. Selfishly, I hope it goes well because I want Dawson to just kind of stay busy and stay at lightweight. Like my least favorite thing in MMA. Okay, that's not true. My least favorite things in MMA are stuff like people turning out to be drug kingpins or like punching their spouses. But my least favorite thing that actually bears directly on the sport is lightweights wasting time trying to kill themselves to make featherweight. And Dawson spent too much time doing that. So I hope the Dawson train just keeps rolling on here. Garcia's strong enough, tough enough, a good enough grappler that I think it's going to be closely contested on the ground. I don't think Dawson's just going to completely run him over on the ground and tap him out. But give me Dawson to win this thing uncontroversially, win all 3 rounds. And I think he'll actually probably get the better of things on the feet, at least for certain stretches. And he's going to have the outlet that he can take Garcia down and put Garcia on his back pretty much whenever he wants to, either to do work offensively or just at least as a safety outlet if he doesn't like what's coming his way on the feet. I think that's reflected in the odds here where, again, he's a greater than 4-1 favorite. But give me Dawson to cruise on with a pretty one-sided decision here.
Yeah, sorry, dude. I was just trying to figure out why you hate Rafi Garcia so much. It's really uncomfortable to see that. I mean, hate's such a hard word, man.
Oh.
So my reaction to was it's not. I expected Dawson to be a hefty favorite. I mean, you're talking about a guy, a ranked guy versus a kind of a mid-tier guy. I didn't expect it 4-1. I expected it to be like -220, something like that. Like I still expected Dawson to be the favorite, and he's a big guy. His striking is very inconsistent. Like every time I started giving Dawson some credit for his striking, then either he gets knocked out by Barry Green or he completely abandons it. You don't see any of it. When we last seen him have like a striking battle, his hand speed a little faster than I remembered. He has some pop. The issues is his defense. He still keeps his chin very high in the air. He doesn't react to punches very well. I said it before, he almost like spins when he gets hit. You have to worry about his chin as he was knocked out bad by Bobby Green. And say what you want about Bobby Green in his boxing, and he's got good boxing. He's never been a power puncher. So, and then a guy who doesn't react to punches. How does he? How much is he standing there and throwing down and not thinking about that knock on the back of his head. I do like his stepping knees. I think he's got a good kicking game, good kicks to the body, crushing calf kicks. He's also one of these guys, like he doesn't care if you grab his legs because he wants to start a scramble. But you go back to the fights that he looked good, like Mark Madsen, he just destroyed him with calf kicks. Nadir Rahmani, another one, he destroyed him with calf kicks. Again, mid-tier guys, but it was But even if I see improvements in his striking, he ultimately, his entire game is centered around his wrestling. He's a good wrestler. He's good at timing entries. He's relentless to get the fight to the ground. Really good hip control. Good overall top game. He has no issue with stalling on top. He's like, honestly, like I was trying to think who he reminds me of. He reminds me of Carlos Esposito, like a better striker than you think of. Not this super credentialed wrestler, but like finds ways to get it down and then controls and has very good control. And that's what Grant Dawson does. Advances well, position on the ground. Garcia, like I'm much higher on Garcia than you. Like obviously making jokes with saying that you hate Rafa Garcia, just joking around. But I think I like his game better than you. He isn't a good athlete. But the dude's tough as nails. To me, he's a guy that when he first came to the UFC, like I didn't expect much, and then to me, he's overachieved. Like the wins he has is probably his peak, his ceiling, but that's better than I originally thought. Like I didn't expect him to even get. And I picked him to win some of those fights, but I mean, like I didn't expect him to have a winning record in the UFC or, fighting guys, ranked guys like Grant Dawson. I mean, I know Grant Dawson's probably not ranked anymore, but you get my point.
Yeah.
He's a high output striker. He works behind an active jab. Go back to like Clay Guida. He just brutalized Clay Guida with a jab. He follows the jab into the pocket where he's when to throw down. He throws a hard looping power shots, though I do think he lacks power. Like he throws a lot of power shots, but he's not going to really knock you out. He is durable. He hits big shots and keeps coming. Like go back to like the Nasrat Hakparas where he fought through some big punches. I think I'm higher on his wrestling than you are. Like I definitely don't favor it over Grant Dawson, but I think he's a solid wrestler, good reactionary double, good at turning the corner and driving through the hips. Though he will shoot without a setup. He's also overreached on a few of his takedown attempts, very like Michael Chiesa style, but he's constantly looking for takedown. Like he's relentless with it. If he has some power, if he grabs a leg, he can just toss you in the air. He's got strong takedown defense. Go back to like the Clay Guida fight, a fight that he stuffed a lot of takedowns from Clay Guida. And say what you want about Clay Guida, I always thought his wrestling was overrated, but still, like that's still a pretty good accomplishment in the UFC, even at this point of Clay Guida's career. Nice, he got a nice submission window against Justy Ronson, and he showed up really good cardio in his fight against Natan Levy. So I do think the line is way off. Like if you're playing like a DraftKings and you want to toss a guy that just because of he's not going to cost you a lot, he gives you a lot of volume and everything. You might throw something against Rafi Garcia. I mean, he could score you nothing and just spend his entire time on his back. But I mean, I don't know where I'm going with that. But I think I like Garcia's chances better than Vegas does. Garcia's underrated. He's well-rounded. But the issue is, I just keep thinking like Dawson's just too big for him. Which is, Garcia, part of Garcia's game is being stronger. Like he's a very strong guy, but like Dawson's huge. Like Dawson could be a freaking middleweight. I expect him to bully Garcia, out wrestle him for a majority of the fight, do what Dawson does. Give me Dawson by decision.
That brings us to the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 244, a middleweight matchup between Brad Tavares and Junyoung Park. This fight was actually scheduled to take place back in July. Park got sick at the very last minute, like after weigh-ins, but before the card actually started. But nonetheless, the fight was shelved for a little bit. Park apparently ready to go. They're going to meet on Saturday. I'm going to plug in our preview from back then, unless you have anything that's changed for you, Keith. All right. One thing that has changed that doesn't affect this fight directly is the gauntlet has been thrown between July and now. In fact, specifically last Saturday at UFC 307, Court McGee squeezed the head of Tim Means like a grape, which means that Tavares has his work cut out for him if he wants to be the last cast member of season 11 of The Ultimate Fighter to pick up a win in the UFC. So sit tight, enjoy this ancient footage from 4 or 5 months ago, and we will be right back. Next up at UFC on ESPN 60, and at least as the card is constituted right now, the co-main event is a middleweight matchup between Brad Tavares and Junyoung Park. Tavares, the 36-year-old Hawaiian longtime representative of Las Vegas, though, in terms of training, is 20-9 overall. He is 15-9 since joining the UFC as a semifinalist of season 11 of The Ultimate Fighter. He joined the UFC just a little over 14 years ago. It was June of 2010. He fought castmate Seth Baczynski at the finale. That's a name we haven't heard in a while. Then in his first real quote-unquote UFC fight, he fought Phil Baroni. Remember that guy? That's how long this dude has been in the UFC. He fought Phil Baroni.
I seen Phil Baroni kill a man once. I seen Phil Baroni in attendance kill Dave Monet.
Yeah, like there's
the first trivia question, the first ever UFC middleweight champion.
Nobody can ever take it away from him. Minnesota's own. But yeah,
who's the first? Here's a trivia question you get people. The first ever bantamweight UFC champion is Jens Pulver.
You are correct, sir.
Because they used to call it bantamweight back then, but even though it's modern day lightweight. Anyways, go on.
Yes, I'm just saying. Tavares, I mean, we've talked about this. It was almost a running joke, when we started doing these previews and recaps 4 years ago, that the next matchup for any middleweight, win or lose, top 10 or, fresh out of toughest. Oh, he should probably fight Brad Tavares. Like, I mean, he was that guy for the longest time. At 36, with the wars he's been in, he does seem to be entering a late stage in his career at this point. He's lost 3 of his last 4, with the only win out of those being against Chris Weidman. I mean, make of that what you will. He fought back in February at the Hermansson versus Pyfer Fight Night, where he got knocked out in the 3rd round by Gregory Rodriguez. So Tavares, if he wants to keep his longtime position as middleweight mainstay, gatekeeper of some sort, he needs to get back in the win column. In order to do so, he's going to have to get past Park. 33-year-old South Korean is 17-6 overall. He's 7-3 in the UFC. He's coming in off of a loss as well. He dropped a split decision to Andre Muniz at the Song versus Gutierrez Fight Night back in December. Prior to that, he had been on a 4-fight win streak that saw him creep up into the edges of the rankings himself. So he's looking to get back in the win column, perhaps not quite as desperately as Tavares. And he is favored to do so. Park is -180, Tavares +150. I mean, Brad Tavares is one of the great constants of the UFC over the past 15 years. I mean, he's been in the UFC for 14 years at this point. He was young, man. He turned 22 in the Tough House. He was the youngest guy on the cast. I mean, the only other person from that cast still in the UFC is Court McGee. And Court McGee, I mean, he may get the Park in the handicap spots when he fights. Like, I like, that's how old that dude is. I love Court McGee, but and it seemed for a while like he was never going to age. Like, he was never going to quite get over the hump and get into the title picture himself, but he was just the most reliable indicator of, okay, if you're a top 10 fighter, you beat Brad Tavares. If you're not, Brad Tavares beats you. Like, he's one of those classic guys where, we've said about him, he doesn't have any bad losses. He loses badly, but he doesn't really have any bad losses. Like, his loss to Edmund Shabazian didn't age very well, but at the time Shabazian was striking everybody like lightning.
That's true.
Like, yeah, he was Hamzat Chimaev without any depth to his game. That's still sort of the case, but he is slowed a bit. The chin is a concern at this point. And for Tavares, it was always going to live and die with the chin. I mean, he's not a throwback Hawaiian brawler. Like, he's a more nuanced striker and a more well-rounded fighter than that. But win or lose, I mean, he's always gotten hit a lot. And he sometimes would have to take 2 to give 1 back. He can't do that anymore. Like, he's getting, it's not just that he has some knockout losses, because I mean, he has 5 knockout losses in the UFC. It's that even when he doesn't get knocked out, it seems like everything hurts him more than it used to. Just a kind of sure indicator that the chin is starting to go. He used to have some underrated / underused wrestling. That's pretty much gone as well. And here he's running into a guy in Park that, yeah, he came up short against Muniz, but he still looked like Jun Young Park. Like, he's been a pleasant surprise over the last 5 or 6 years. And he's like, things changed for him, I think, when he just sort of started to embrace his wrestling. It turns out he's a pretty damn good wrestler. Like, he's one of those guys that you can tell he's not an amateur wrestler that wrestled from the time he was 6. Like, a lot of the ways he gets people to the mat don't really have a name, but it works just through persistence, stick-to-itiveness. The Iron Turtle is a great nickname for him because he's just durable as hell, doesn't come off as much of an athlete. He's not huge for the division, but nonetheless, he's always right there. Just strong as an ox, good cardio, tough, smart. I like Park. I mean, in some ways, he's the new version of Tavares. I don't think he'll probably ever make it like very far, at least into the top 10, but he's picking up a lot of good scalps along the way, picking up a lot of paychecks. I think here he's pretty much in his prime where Tavares is starting to fade. Luckily for Tavares, Park isn't the kind of guy that's probably going to just sit him down with one huge punch. but I think Park just kind of outgrinds Tavares. I think if we get the kind of middle distance kickboxing battle that's generally been Tavares' bread and butter, Park will do fine there. But Park also has the option that he can put his hands on Tavares, run him to the fence, force that clinch, and just kind of drain the life out of him, which is something he's gotten really good at, either just kind of stacking him up against the fence, punishing him, making them wear his weight, or finding takedowns from there, and going to work with good ground and pound and surprisingly nimble back takes. Like for a guy that looks kind of slow and plodding on the feet, he's pretty nimble and fluid on the ground. It's just kind of a secret weapon that wasn't really in evidence through his first 4 or 5 UFC fights, but now he's got it. So yeah, this I think is a favorable matchup for Park. Give me Park in a pretty one-sided decision. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins all 3 rounds, and moments of like bright spots for Tavares are kind of few and far between.
Oh, Brad Tavares. I mean, you summed it up perfectly. He's been a really solid middleweight for many years, but the best years just seem to be behind him. I mean, he doesn't have a major floor over the years, but I always said he never had like a major like quality, and he's never.
He's a 7 out of 10 at everything.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's like when you get a tie for Christmas. Like, you're not mad, but you're not excited. You're not excited. Like, you're like, oh, cool. Like, I can use a tie or a new belt. Like, oh, that's nice. Like, but like your loved one who bought you a new belt is going with strictly with like, yeah, it's functional. But no one's like, functional. Oh, but it's no one's favorite.
You turn the tie around, the little label in the back says Brad Tavares. Like,
he's probably going to need a tie because he's not going to have many fights left in the UFC. He can go work. I can see Bo working at Harbor Freight. I don't see Brad Tavares as a tie kind of guy, but he's still a pretty technical striker. He's got some solid boxing. He uses feints well to set up his shots. He's always been good at slipping punches and countering. He has some power, but overall he's not this big power puncher. I'd say he's got some okay pop. He does really well at foot positioning, setting up his shots, good at keeping his base underneath him. Though he is pretty good on the outside, he can also throw it out of the pocket. He makes the mistake though of backing straight up and get stuck against the fence. I mean, instead of circling away like this happened in his fight against Strickers Duplessis. His chin might be gone though. That's the issue. I mean, he's been hurt a lot lately. He throws a lot of kicks. He did it especially against like Chris Weidman. Kicks were a big part of his game. Body kicks, calf kicks. You mentioned he's always been a solid offensive wrestler, but he doesn't wrestle enough. He's always had good takedown defense, a bit of a sprawl and brawl fighter. And I think he's an underrated overall grappler. I'm just concerned, and you mentioned it, like, I knew Brad Tavares was in the UFC for a long time, but I don't even remember him fighting Phil fucking Baroni. Like, holy shit.
Phil Baroni, Aaron Simpson. I mean, those are 2 guys that are at least 48 or 50 years old that he has fought in the UFC.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's taken so much damage. He's been knocked out a few times lately. I mean, his chin might be completely shot. Now, I'll say this about Jung Young Park. I thought he beat Andre Muniz. So I think he should be on a fight winning streak. And if he won that, I mean, we could be possibly looking at a headlining fight night if he won, based on.
Yeah, hell, he might be headlining this one,
Maybe so. He's a high volume striker, constantly marching down his foe. He beats people with pressure. He wants to be the bull. He doesn't want to be the matador. He wants to keep his opponent straight against the fence. Excuse me, sorry. He fights well in the pocket. He attacks with combos. He just kind of touches, doesn't really waste energy until there's an open, then he unloads some good shots. He's good at picking up his opponent's timing. Much better striker than you think because he doesn't look like he's about to sign you out there. He's kind of like mushy and thick, just got a thick kind of guy. I like that he goes down to the body. It's a big part of his game. He's got great calf kicks.
He's really durable too. He'll eat a shot and walk through one and land some good power shots. You mentioned his wrestling. He's a good wrestler. He's gotten so many takedowns so far in his UFC career. He's a very good grappler, strong top game. He secures position before looking for punishment. He's got some good ground and pound. He still needs to improve his own takedown defense. He's been taken down before, but he's got really good get-up gear. He just pops right up. He's a big, strong guy. He has a submission threat. He has 6 subs on his record. He showed really strong takedown, obviously submission defense against Andre Muniz. As far as prediction goes, if Tavares was his prime, I would pick him. I mean, just those days seem long gone. He's seen better days. I think Park's pressure is going to get to Tavares. I think he add in some hard shots and he's going to land. I think he might hurt Tavares. I think he'll mix in some takedowns of himself. I want to take a stoppage, and if Parks hurts Tavares, knocks him out, then yeah, he's the shot fighter. Not, and I want to be clear, losing to Park does not make you a shot fighter, but that's that way. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think you know what I'm saying. Like Park's a good fighter, but I think Brad Tavares was never the guy that would get starched by someone like Park. I just think the volume, the takedowns. I think Park wins a fairly easy, lopsided decision. Give me Park by decision.
With that, we arrive at the main event of UFC Vegas 98, a high-stakes men's flyweight contenders fight between Brandon Royval and Tatsuro Taira. Royval, the 32-year-old Coloradan, is 16-7 overall. He is 6-3 in the UFC and has been a flyweight title challenger, still remains right there in the title picture. He's 6-3, and his only losses are to current or former champs. So there you go. And one of the losses to a former champ has now been avenged, because in his last appearance back in February, he took a split decision over former champ Brandon Moreno, keeping himself right in the title picture and avenging his first round knockout loss to Moreno almost 4 years ago. He will look to make it 2 in a row, make it 5 of his last 6, and perhaps snatch another shot at flyweight gold. But in order to do so, he will have to get past the Japanese phenom, Tatsuro Taira. 24-year-old from Okinawa is a perfect 16-0 as a professional mixed martial artist. He's a perfect 6-0 in the UFC. Thus far this year, he's only fought once. It was back in June, and in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 58, he was having a good night at the office against Alex Perez before Perez suffered a knee injury middle of the second round that forced him to, I don't think he tapped, but forced the stoppage. Taira looking for his 7th straight win in the UFC, perhaps his own shot at the title. He is comfortably favored to do so, actually. Taira is -220, Royval +180. Wow. Keith gave crazy. A little bit of a look there as well. If I were a better host, well, no, let's be honest. If I had not spent all day angry in airplanes, this is exactly the kind of thing I would have looked up, because I bet that in Royval's 3 losses in the UFC, twice to Alexandre Pantoja and once to Brandon Moreno, I bet he was not as high as a +180 underdog in at least one of those other fights.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
So that is an indication of how the bookmakers, or specifically the bettors who drive the bookmakers, feel about the undefeated man from Okinawa. Keith, tell us how you feel about him. I mean, I know in general, broad strokes, how you feel about him, because you and I both have said that he's not. And I think we've even stepped out there and said that, yeah, we think he's a future champ. I don't know if he's a future champ like right now, like he beats Royval and he beats Pantoja 5 months from now, but at just age 24 and as good as he already is, I'm comfortable saying this guy wears UFC gold at some point. Tell me how you think this fight goes, and if you think the future is now for the man from Japan.
Yeah, as far as winning the championship, one thing I'll always say, like, it's not that I never pick someone to win the championship. It's very rare for me to do that, because it's like that it's such a high accomplishment that, like, if you picked Rory McDonald when he first debuted UFC, that guy would be a UFC champion one day. Well, he never did. But like, were you wrong? Like, when he made his debut, like, yeah, I guess technically, yes, you were wrong. He never won the title, but like, look how close he came. Like, he showed that on a giving night, he could be the best guy in the world.
I completely agree. And you're getting around to what I think is the point there, where you can say that, okay, I believe so-and-so is going to be a top 10 fixture for 7 or 8 years. And unless they like lose a limb in a car wreck the next day, you're probably going to be right. But to say that they're going to be a champ one day, that takes not just skill, but it takes luck and timing.
Yeah, everything.
Like,
yeah.
What if he'd run into someone other than Robbie Lawler that night?
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
Exactly.
So completely agree.
I think about like Joseph Benavidez. Do you really view someone like Joseph Benavidez as not a UFC champion level guy? Or was he just the second best guy when there was a historically good all-time, possibly the most talented MMA fighter who's ever lived in front of him?
Joseph Benavidez is the GOAT where it matters.
Well, yeah, good for him. Yeah, he won in life. Guy won in life.
And I mean, jokes aside, like, I mean,
everyone knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, he's married to Megan O'Leary, but on top of everything else, he himself is just a lovely guy. It's hard to find anybody with a bad word to say about him except for Dominic Cruz, but Dominic Cruz can think of a bad thing to say about anybody. Yeah, no, but totally, it was a matter of timing. Almost any other time, he would have been a champ and might have strung together a couple of title defenses, despite the handicap of being even smaller than Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know if he was smaller than Demetrius, but he was a very small guy. Yeah. And then it goes to football. There's people who've accomplished UFC titles who, I view lower than people who haven't won UFC titles.
Guys that were the best fighter in the world for one night when it really counted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like,
we can name a bunch of them.
We could. And I'm going to name one, and this is meant as no insult because he is literally one of the 15 or 16 guys that are in my Hall of Fucking Awesome right now. Evan Tanner. Is Evan Tanner one of the greatest middleweights of all time? No, but he was the best middleweight in the world on one night.
Yeah, I mean, it was also extremely weak weight class at that time, but yeah, you get my point.
It still is now, but
yeah. The reason why I was surprised by the Royval thing is like, yeah, Royval never won the title, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does. Like, look at his fights against Pantoja. Like his last fight against Pantoja, he was extremely competitive. Yeah, I thought he clearly lost, but he was competitive. He's good. Look at his fight against Moreno. I mean, he won that fight, but I mean, like, I guess
he won that fight, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that Moreno is champ again one day.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's wrong with the possibility that Brandon Royval could be champion one. If someone told me a year from now Brandon Royval is champion, I'd go, oh, I'm surprised by that, but it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I don't think he could be. I don't think anybody should be. What'd you say, like negative 225 or something like that?
Yeah, minus 220.
I don't think anybody on planet Earth should be negative 220 against Brandon Royval. That's what I was surprised by. And then you say what you want about Tyra. This is a big step up in competition for Tyra.
Dude,
this is not a big step up in competition for Royval.
At UFC 296, so that is not that long ago. That is less than a year ago. It's last December. So at UFC 296, Alexandre Pantoja minus 185, Brandon Royval plus 150.
Yeah, there you go.
Like the champ in a 5-round flyweight title fight was less of a favorite over Royval than Tyra is.
Yeah, if they want to have him be like, plus 150 underdog to Tyra, I'd be okay. Like, okay, I get it. Like Tyra is, the exciting guy on the scene, undefeated, young. I'll say this, but going back to what we talked about, future champion. I was high on Tyra coming in. I said, this guy has a lot of skills that he could be a ranking fighter. I didn't think I had him like that high, like he's going to be top 5 guy, but like my opinion changed on him pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like this guy's freaking good because he can, the skill set he showed when he first came to the UFC, what I like is he keeps adding to it. Where you can see like, wow, that's a new wrinkle of his game. Like his striking has came one time when he first came to UFC, it was like, man, this guy's pretty much just a one-dimensional guy. He's not that great an athlete. It's like his athleticism is better, his striking is better. But this is the toughest test. And add in the 5 rounds, that changes things too. Royval's betted in the 5-round affairs in the UFC. Tyra, I mean, it was supposed to be against Alex Perez, but it didn't go that deep. So Rival's obviously he's a big guy for the weight class. He's long and lengthy. He's a very good athlete. Southpaw, flows on his feet. I've said it before. He's very creative the way he strikes. You kind of really can't predict what's coming at you. I said it's like a prime Tony Ferguson where even he doesn't know what he's doing. He sets up strikes well with feints, great output, long straight shots down the pipe. He got a nice jab. I throw some crazy spinning attacks, big kicking game, kindling kicks to all parts of the body, hard body kicks, teep kicks are some of his best weapon due to his size. That it's either that or his stepping knees, which I mean, if anybody throws a lot of stepping knees, I'm going to say that. That's like sweet music to me. You say stepping knees. Defense has always been an issue. I mean, since he was on the regional scene, he drops his hands, keeps his chin high in the air. I mean, go back to like Kai Kara France, cracked him for it. He also doesn't react well to punches. Though he's a good striker on the outside, he also closes the distance, and he follow strikes into to close the distance where he can use his size well in the clinch, toss knees inside of there.
Again, like Ferguson,
yeah. He will look to wrestle, but he's more of a guy that he's not like Ferguson. He's not even trying to get you to the ground. He's just trying to get a scramble going where he's comfortable in those unorthodox, unusual. How have they been in this position? Like he's comfortable in those. Like new realm for him is like, yeah, cool. I'd say he's an underrated offensive wrestler because he's just not this technically sound guy. He's a terrible defensive wrestler. I think he don't care about it. I mean, Pantoja took him down 8 times, but I mean, Pantoja's just a fantastic wrestler. But he also does things to get himself taken down. He'll jump guillotine. That said, his guillotine's nasty. And he's a really dangerous grappler himself. I mean, he uses those long limbs really well, toss up submission attempts everywhere. He's flexible. Kind of reminds me of like a Charles Oliveira, like to a lesser extent. I don't want to compare it to like the most dynamic grappler in the history you see, but you get my point. Yeah. He's good at catching subs and weird scrambles, constantly just keeping his hips moving, very like Ben Askren funk style wrestling. He will stay on his back looking for subs, which is concerning. I mean, that's what happened. He did in previous Marino fight. But he can get the subs there, so it's still dangerous. He's also a guy that he'd rather like strike off his back instead of getting up. Like he'll throw elbows off the bottom and stuff. And he's got really good cardio. Like he had a late surge against Pantoja. I could see the same thing against Tyra. Yeah, he's also a long and lengthy striker, a way better athlete than I originally thought. That was like another thing that stood out to me. Like he's much faster now. He moves well. He's very fluid and controlled. He works really well from range due to his length. He should like his striking has jumped leaps and bounds since he first came in. He's really good at his picking up his opponent's time as they coming in. Though I mean, Royval is such a different guy. It might be harder, but other guys we've seen, he's got some quick hands. Tyra throws clean strikes down the pipe, good uppercuts inside. He's only 24 and he's starting to show some power, and he's still young. So we could still be years from when he's getting to his power. Big kicking game, kicks to all areas of the body. He does keep his chin a little too high. He is a threat for takedowns in the open, and like he's really good at getting body lock takedowns, but also shoot from distance. Gets inside in the clinch, locks a body lock, will land some knees inside there first. But if at distance, good entries. If he gets to the ground, smothering top control, inches for position, doesn't rush anything. Very different than Royval in that sense. Very more technical. Some slick back takes. I mean, look at the back takes he did against Alex Perez. He has a submission threat. He's got 7 subs in his career already. He chains subs together well, which I love. And if he's taken out, he jumps right back to his feet. I think this is an amazing fight. It's one of my favorite fights made this year. I mean, it's such a good one. I think the line is way off. I think this is a really hard fight to pick because this is a step up in competition for Tyra. I think the line's insane. I think this fight should be a pick 'em. I think both guys have their moments. I think both guys we get a back and forth affair. I think both guys will have success in the feet. I think both guys will have success in the grappling. Like when I say I'm really torn because Royval is such a wild thing and he's such a great athlete. Like he's so hard. You can't prepare for a guy like him. That said, I am taking Tyra. I'm taking him. I'm going to say it's super close. I'm going to take him by split decision. I'm going to say the reason why I'm leaning Tyra, the thing I keep going back to is Royval has all these tools, but he can be his own worst enemy. Like his willingness to put himself in bad positions. Like he can be his own worst enemy at times. And I'm going to say he does that, and that's going to be the difference. I think he's going to lose rounds because, he jumped the guillotine or something. Give me Tyra by split decision.
I love a lot of things about the breakdown there, but the thing you jumped on that kind of formed a lot of what I was going to talk about, and so I'm just going to build right off of, is pointing out the ways in which Tyra has improved in his time in the UFC. Because obviously you want any fighter to improve, but
sure.
We've talked about some 38-year-olds here. I talked about a 28-year-old heavyweight, and I think we already know what this guy is going to be, but not all of them do. And for the last couple of years, well, up until a few things happened this year, the question was always Tatsuro Taira or Muhammad Mokaev. They were kind of the Shavkat and the Hamzat of this division, and they worked perfectly. They both arrived in 2022 within like a month or two of each other. I think they debuted in like March and May of 2022. And by the end of 2022, I thought, I think both these guys are future title contenders. I think both are possibly future champions, but I'm higher on Mokaev. And the reasons would have been, I think he's a little more explosive of a natural athlete. At this point in their development, he's more well-rounded. And while Mokaev is a little too much of a wild man and makes too many mental errors, that can kind of smooth out. And I'm more sure that will improve than I am that Tyra will suddenly become a plus striker.
Sure.
I turned out to be wrong about that. You pointed out Tyra seems to be a better athlete than either he's improved or he's better than we thought he was based on his last few fights in Japan and his first few in the UFC,
and he just matured too. He got older.
He matured and he was already mature in terms of poise. We're talking about a division where one of the coolest things about it is that even the very top fighters are mostly so aggressive. Like that's what makes it like so much. It's also what makes it so that almost nobody can string together multiple title defenses, just because they're all a little vulnerable. Brandon Moreno was awesome, but nobody thought he was going to win 8 in a row. Just he's too crazy, too aggressive. Tyra already seems poised, especially on the ground. And on the ground is where Mokaev, at least up until now, and these two guys are about the same age, continues to shoot himself in the foot from time to time, where Tyra already came to the UFC just grappling like a guy who was 5 years older and had 10 more fights than he does. At the beginning of this year, I said I thought I was still a little higher on Mokaev as someone who would win a title in the UFC one day, and some people in the comment sections ridiculed me for that. And considering that he got kicked out of the UFC, I guess they're right by default now, but I stand by the thought process before he just made an ass of himself. But Tyra keeps improving in exactly the ways you would want someone to between the ages of 21 and 24. It's tempting to take Royval, but just because he's so athletic, so gifted, so offensively diverse, so unpredictable, even to himself. But I think his real poison is going to be people with the patience and poise not to get fazed by that. I ran down at the beginning of this, how at least in the UFC, he's only lost to Pantoja and Moreno, but because the stars never aligned quite the right way, he never ran into the guy that really would have been poisoned for him. I think Davis and Figueiredo would have been a nightmare for Royval, just because while Figueiredo is crazy in the feet, he's more composed and methodical on the ground. I think like Royval would have just got caught in the middle of Granby rolls or like guard pulls or just weird, like attempting crazy stuff, and Figueiredo would just punished him. I think we're going to get a little of that out of Taira. I don't think Taira is going to be phased by the big moment. He's now already headlined a UFC card against a former title challenger. And yeah, there's upset potential. Royval's a great fighter and a very dangerous one, but I do think this is, I'm not going to say a coming out party because I don't think he's going to blow Royval off the map, but it's definitely going to be a solid step up where after he beats Alex Perez, however he got there, and then beats Royval in uncontroversial fashion, fans, media, and the UFC's own matchmakers are going to have to go, what more does this guy have to do? Like, how many more people does he really have to beat that are a better win than Brandon Royval? I like Taira by decision here as well. I think we'll have some moments of weirdness and wildness, but maybe not as many as we're used to in a men's flyweight contenders fight because this is Tatsuro Taira. And while he does interesting and exotic stuff that not many people in the division can do, he's so smart and composed about it, where Royval will try crazy stuff, and I think Taira is going to make him pay for it. Give me Taira by decision, but Taira catching Royval in a real opportune moment and maybe snatching up a quick submission somewhere in the middle or late rounds wouldn't shock me either. And that is it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC Fight Night 244, Royval versus Taira, also known as UFC Vegas 98. I've been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, first of all, thank you. We hope you enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe. Neither of those things cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy. They allow us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. We like to think that we bring a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional historic or humorous asides that's pretty unique in this space. Drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We would love to hear your take on these fights. If you think we missed any upset potential, let us know. If you think any of our upset picks are crazy and are going to work out disastrously for us, let us know that as well. Because if you're right and we're wrong, we will definitely give you your flowers on the recap, but you have to join us in order to hear them. So join us for the recap. We're live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Keith takes the captain's chair. We'll talk about all 13 of these fights in reverse order from the main event all the way down to that first very intriguing prelim. We'll talk about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something, but hopefully not quite the same shit show as UFC 307 last week. And we'll talk with you. The comment section is open that whole time, or the live chat. So we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we would love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go Dodgers, I guess.
Hold on.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, I would just, while we were talking, I think I can speak for both of us. America's getting crushed right now with hurricanes. Obviously, Hurricane Helena, destroyed big sections of North Carolina, Tennessee, a bunch of other states. Obviously, we're praying for all the people there's so many death and unfortunately people missing, all kinds of stuff. And now there's another hurricane that's supposed to hit Central Florida. So both me and Ben were thinking about all you people, praying for you guys, any listeners affected. Let us know that we're thinking of you. Be safe, do everything possible to keep yourself, you and your family safe. So
yes,
that's it.
Enjoy the fights.
To the sea. forget her fairy tales while you're hunting for your way.